Thank you for your curiosity. We're happy to have this legend with us today. Former Just Scrap featherweight and lightweight champion, co-matchmaker of Rise Invitational, co-owner and proprietor of Legends Martial Arts and first degree BJJ black belt, Adam the Bomb Collarile's in the goddamn room.
What up?
See,
that's a nice intro, bro.
I had to think about like how we could best present it, but it's fucking awesome. We're here at Legends Martial Arts in Briar. If you're in the area, you definitely want to come over here and train. One of the best training rooms you'll ever see. You come here on a Monday night, you might have a stroke from how many sparring partners you'll have.
I agree with this.
Because this place sweat all over.
Slip and slide.
Yeah, the slip and slide. The glass is literally frosted over from all the sweat. Then you could literally like run across here and just shh. It looks like Silver Surfer. It's
you don't
fucking
need
fun.
a pool. You don't need a pool. We got everything you need right here.
Yeah, no pool access.
Come
You don't
swim
need
on a
it.
Monday and a Wednesday.
That's exactly what it's like that night. All right. So normally I start with the childhood story, and for a lot of the viewers, that's usually what they're used to like hearing from me. But you have a ridiculous amount of history, so we're gonna go back to Dobbs Ferry High School, 2006. You win the all-section championship in wrestling. What's that year like for you? And you then go into Lower Manhattan for MMA training. Do you have any specific schools that you were visiting at that time? Like right in that 2006 era of Adam Bomb, what's happening?
All right, so let's go back 2 years, like to 2004. I didn't want to wrestle. I didn't want to do any of this. I like to skate, so I wanted to do skateboard, rollerblade, and that was it. But I would get in trouble. I was getting in a little bit of trouble. Got in trouble at school for fighting. And I was given an ultimatum at one point from Coach Block, who was a big mentor of mine. And he told me, hey, you either get back into wrestling or you're going to face the suspension from school. So I was like, all right, I'll get on the mat. You know, I had done jiu-jitsu in Pleasantville when I was a kid for a few years. I had wrestling experience from when I was a kid, but I didn't want to do it. I didn't like it. At the time, I didn't realize how much I would have fallen in love with it. So I went down to the wrestling room, and it just clicked, man. It just clicked. I can go to a place in school and get in some scraps. Oh, it was the best thing ever. And I'm surrounded by, it was a good wrestling team at the time. Credit to Coach Block. And I just fell in love with it, man. I fell in love with the competition. I fell in love. Gave me something that, hey, I might be good at this. And I hit it hard because really at the time, it felt like it was all that I had. And myself, Sam Hardy, who is a 10th planet black belt now, and Brian Kim, who is a black belt under the Meow Brothers, along with our buddy John Zink, who hasn't made it to black belt yet, but he will. That was just our crew of wrestlers. That was my group. That was my wrestling group. From 145 up to 170. We covered all those weight classes. And it was hard wrestling, man. And it was just a group of kids that truly loved to grapple. And it paid off in the long run with most of us, with 3 out of 4 of us earning our black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, I think that speaks volumes to how a really good room can produce such great quality.
Good coaching.
Right. And good coaching is the most important part, because if you don't have a good coach, it all kind of falls apart. It's almost like the foundation.
It is the foundation. It's without Coach Block, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. So shout out to Coach Block.
Shout out to Jamie Block.
All right. So you win in all section.
Fourth in section. Then you start going down to Lower Manhattan to train MMA. What were the first schools that you were kind of looking around at when you started? Oh, so I'm not going to credit anything in Lower Manhattan. I am going to credit, at the time, there was a school in Westchester, in Lower Westchester. I'm not going to put names on any gyms right now. Let's go to 2006. So I left New York after high school. Right. And I actually had moved to Florida. And I was going to school at the time. And it wasn't for me. I was doing environmental science. I couldn't really pass math. I moved back to New York, and my dad said, hey, maybe you should get back on the mat. Maybe you should get back into wrestling, back into grappling. He gave me $100. He pointed me in the right direction, and I walked through those doors. And that's where I met Greg Melia.
Wow.
Who you know, Spot.
Coach Melia himself.
And I remember stepping on the mats. It was hot, man. You go upstairs. Downstairs, they're doing certain martial art. You go upstairs, they're doing the grappling and the Muay Thai. And I felt the squish of the mat. And bro, and I was back. I was back. I just, right then, from 2 feet on that mat, I knew my dad would always tell me, someday you're going to thank me for certain things. And to this day, thanks for that $100 to get me back on the mat. Because that changed my life.
Oh, shout out to Dad. We'll speak more about him later because he's quite the individual, man. That dude is awesome. So you wrestled, yes. And if memory serves correct, you went to Hawaii. I think it was the University of Hawaii at the time, right?
The University of Hawaii. I mean, I didn't show up to class very often. But the problem was jiu-jitsu was at noon. No-gi at noon, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I think I had a math class at noon at that time. Got to pick and choose. You know, pick the poison.
You waited on the
Jiu-jitsu is
scale.
obvious choice.
But how'd you end up finding MMA while in college, or at least how'd you end up at Boss MMA of all places? Because that's a
Penn Training and Fitness.
yeah, that's a scary room.
So I needed to get out of New York. There was nothing but trouble. I was going to Westchester Community College at the time. I was going to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was managing a pool at New York Sports Club in Dobbs, Ferry. I would go to class I would have probably 2 o'clock. I'd have an hour to get there. Probably do 2-3 classes. And then I would go train. I would go to Greg's, I would train, and I would hit hard. And then I would get done at about 10 o'clock.
Right.
I still have to have a social life. I would go over to my buddy's house, hang out till about midnight, get my 5 hours of sleep. Then I would rinse and repeat the next day. I worked my ass off. At the time, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I liked to train. And then a good buddy of mine moved to Oahu, to the University of Manoa. And I thought, hey, maybe I'll go check that place out. Maybe I'll move out there. I'll go to school. But one of my best friends, Nick Jacobs, suggested, hey, maybe we move out to Hilo. And we weren't moving out there to go to school. We were moving out there to live in Hawaii, to see what's out there, get out of the Westchester bubble. Guess the rest is history.
Yeah, I would say the rest is history. To recap, though, you flunked out of college.
Yeah, dropped out of college. So I was still going to school when I moved to Hilo. I knew we had gotten into Hilo very late. It must have been, I feel like it was 2 o'clock in the morning. We landed in Hilo, pitch black. The first thing somebody says to me, it's the security guard. We're crossing the street, and he goes, "Oh, asking about our vacation. How long are we staying?" And I'm like, "No, we just moved here." He's like, "You just moved here? Why would you move here?" And I was like, whoa, like right off the bat, someone saying like this place, like, why would you move to Hilo of all places? I kind of went in blind. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really Google much. I just knew I needed to get out of New York. I remember getting to the dorms, the apartments at the time, and the people that run it, who ended up becoming good friends. But they came in and they started listing all these rules about the place. And I was like, where the hell am I? Where did we just move to, man? It's been negative after negative now since we've landed. And I remember we went to sleep, 6-hour time difference, so everything's all messed up. Woke up that next morning and we were like, hey, let's go explore. I didn't know the ocean was close by. I didn't know the city was close by. More importantly, I didn't know BJ's gym was less than a mile away. And I remember starting to walk. We wanted to find a 7-Eleven. And I remember seeing kind of like the palm trees end. You know, you could see the tops of the trees and really nothing after that. So, okay, the ocean's probably that way. Smartphones were kind of just getting popular, I guess. Like, we weren't really at Google. There's nothing to Google. And I remember seeing the gym. You know what I remember the most about that day is how sunburnt I got. Dude, I got wrecked. And I realized why Hawaiians like to move so slow, because it's so hot. So you move slow so you don't sweat so much. But I remember seeing that gym. I remember seeing BJ's gym. And it took me I'd probably say a couple weeks before I got in there. You want me to tell a story about when I walked in there?
Oh, yeah. I know this is going to be fucking hilarious.
All right. So I started with no-gi jiu-jitsu under J Penn. I want to say that's BJ Penn's oldest brother, smallest brother. And the first thing he taught me was pressure jiu-jitsu, pressure passing, side control pressure. The guy probably weighs off record 140 pounds, right? And it's the heaviest top pressure I've ever felt in my life. So that was my first introduction to jiu-jitsu. I probably trained jiu-jitsu for about a month with them. And I would see the MMA team kind of come and go. And, hey, I want to try this. Like, I want to fight. I think maybe I want to like learn MMA. It wasn't popular back then. It wasn't a thing that athletes were doing. It was a sport for fighters. I shouldn't even call it a sport at the time. It wasn't. But I remember walking up to soon-to-be mentor Chad Ha'o, a black belt, Novo União, Hawaii black belt under BJ and Sharuto. And I walk up to him like, hey, I want to fight. And he's like, oh, bro, you like fight? He's like, you want to fight? I was like, yeah, I want to fight. He's like, all right, get in the cage. I was like, whoa, I get right in the cage. And that's where I met Toby Too Quick. That's where I met Nui. That's where I met Bob. That's where I met all the boys. But I didn't meet them in a good way. They beat the living crap out of me. Day one.
Oh, shit.
And I came back the next day. And I went up to Chad Howell. And I was like, he's like, huh? He's like, I want to fight. He's like, oh, you still like fight? I was like, yeah. He's like, get in the cage. Got my ass kicked, bro. Got my ass kicked. Came back day 3. Fight. Go sit with the team. Oh, all right. I came back. That's really all it takes. But I will never forget the beating that got put on me the first time I stepped in BJ's cage at the time. Humbling, to say the least. Humbling, you know. At the time, I would rely on the wrestling. I thought I knew jiu-jitsu. Moving out there, I did not know jiu-jitsu, bro. Again, the Westchester bubble.
Right.
You know, I thought I knew grappling. But I had no idea what I was about to get into.
Yeah, I can relate the first time stepping on the mats with you. That was...
I remember the first time you walked into 914.
Yeah.
You came up, you were telling me about your boxing pedigree right at the front desk. I remember the exact second I met you. And he ain't lying, bro. He's got the hands. He's got them.
That's my one gift.
Be a little more consistent with the jiu-jitsu, but it's coming along, right? Life happens, bro. I get it.
Only your coach can call you out like that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the truth. I'm not a consistent student. That's why, and in the words of a friend of mine, he's like, he should have been a purple belt, but jackass can't stay consistent.
Man, I was a white belt for 6 years, bro.
Yeah.
I was at one point, I would probably consider myself one of the best white belts in the world. And I'd rather that. I'd rather be the best white belt than the worst blue belt.
That's true.
I wasn't showing up for belts, dude. I was showing up to train. And if you're showing up to train, it's lifelong.
Yeah.
Blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt will occur at some point in time. But the belt covers 2 inches of your ass. And it's up to us to cover the rest of it. It holds the gi together, bro. That's all the belt is. So it was never about the belts, bro. It was about training. It was about being with the team, the camaraderie, which I mentioned earlier.
Right.
And just doing what I love, man.
Yeah.
Doing what I love.
I think when I first met you, I think Coach Greg had got me on the mats right away, and he was like, "Henry, who's coming up here? You need to get to that seminar." And I was like, "Oh shit, you trying to rush me and to get killed?"
Yeah.
And then he put me on the back, and I remember I think the first 3 rounds I felt like $1 million, and then those next 3 rounds I felt like I was dying. I was like, someone's murdering me.
Got no sound in these bad girls. I can hear me. I can't hear you.
Oh, I think it's because my gain is a little.
Yeah,
hold on, let me see here.
I miss that old gym, man. I owe a lot to Greg in that place. I met guys like you. I met guys like Sharp at that place. I learned how to teach. I learned how to coach. I learned how to shouldn't say learn, but I was able to perfect my craft, trial and error. I learned kind of the ins and outs of business, but I had been working in gyms all my life. Going back to Hilo, going back to Hawaii, JD Penn. I remember I was moving big trees. We did the largest shipment of palm trees to the island of Lanai in history. Some billionaire bought the island and he wanted a bunch of palm trees. We dug them out, we loaded them on flatbeds, brought them down to the harbor, and shipped them across the islands. And I remember that job ended, and so did mine, right? Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Job ends.
Yeah.
One thing always leads to another. Silver lining always. I remember going to JD and I was like, man, I just lost my job, JD. I can't really afford the training. And he said, bring your resume right down to, I can't remember the exact location, but Auntie Michelle is who I had to bring it to. And Auntie Alcia. And they looked at my resume and I was hired immediately. When can you start? Well, I can start tonight, right? I can start tonight. Sure. Go start tonight. Get in there. Start your training. Eventually I opened that gym at 4:00 in the morning and I would close it at midnight.
Wow.
JD gave me a pad, a mat and a tie pad. And I would just kind of at times sleep in the back of the gym. I remember he brought me an air conditioner. He's like, here's an air conditioner, dude. Plug it in. Like, oh my gosh. Now I had a house. I wasn't homeless. But I just wanted to be in the gym, man. I wanted to live it. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to open the place. I wanted to wake up at 4 a.m. I wanted to be up and close it at midnight. Now, granted, now I'm here.
Right.
Now I can train at 10 o'clock. Now I can train at 12 o'clock. Now I can teach some kids at 3:30 or 4:30. Now I can train with Boss and the boys at 5:30. Now I can jump in the gi at 7 or 8 o'clock. Now I can go to sleep and do it all over again. Man, I found it. And I didn't think it would lead into a career. Was I fighting at the time? We'll get into that. I'm not sure with my time frames. The problem with living in a tropical place is you can't remember timelines. I could be like, hey, remember last winter? Oh, remember 2 winters ago? Remember 3? You can't say that because it's either hot or it's rain. So my timelines might get a little skewed when it comes to Hilo. But I never thought I'd be doing this. That's for certain. I just knew what I loved, man. I stuck with it.
Yeah, and again, to it, I've been here, I think I've known you now 4 years.
Oh, man, we're going on 5 years, bro.
We're
about to hit 5 years at this place. But COVID. We got wrecked with COVID.
Yeah, COVID was tough.
5 weeks.
COVID was tough.
And COVID hit.
That was rough. And I think during that time is when they were shooting Thrilla for Professor Mike.
Yes,
Yeah, Coach
which
Mike.
just won Indie Fest. Yeah. Actually. Thrilla just won the Indie Award or an award for like best indie movie at what I believe is a popular like film festival.
I'll check it with Digital Full J, but those guys tell me everything. They're cool.
Proud of him. Proud of Rick and all the hard work those guys did for that.
Absolutely. So you're in Hilo, you're training, you're killing yourself.
Training like a absolute savage.
And then you drop out of school.
Yeah, that was later. That's kind of when I decided, hey, do I want to do this as a career? I wanted to go pro. It was time, and that's when it was time to put that behind me. Now, granted, I'd get a C and I'd be happy. But, C's get degrees.
That's true.
But it wasn't for me, man. I thought I'd be working construction, it's just hard work. I thought I'd be really having to do hard work out there. I just stuck around.
That's a good thing, though. My dad is work construction. My father's 47.
And he'd leave early and he'd cut home late.
Yeah, he'd leave at 5 a.m. and he gets home between 7:30 and 8 o'clock at night. Every day. Still does. He's been doing it 26 years. And I've told him already, like, listen.
That's what the whole team was doing. They'd go over Kona side.
Yeah.
Hour and a half drive, 45-minute drive. Hilo to Kona. Ross was, when it comes to just phenomenal coaching, Ross the Boss Ibanez, who ran Boss MMA out of BJ Penn's gym. He'd make that drive every day. He'd go work out in the hot Kona sun, then come back. He'd be back by 5:30 to coach us. Monday through Thursday, bro. Fridays, he'd put us on the hill for cardio. I just thought that's what it would be. I'm going to fight, I'm going to train, and I'm going to just join the boys in Kona and work hard and be exhausted. You would hear especially like the black belts, or you would hear, guys more seasoned in jiu-jitsu, they would talk about living the dream, like how JD Penn, who owned Penn Training Fitness, or the family. Oh, JD lives the dream, bro. You live the dream. Black belt, you open the gym, you live the dream. And at the time, it was just a dream. Like, that's so far-fetched. Might have been a white belt, right? The first 6 years I was there as a white belt. Might have been a blue belt. And black belt is so far off. Living the dream is like, oh man, you launch into space, and it's like, just to get there. So I never thought living the dream. And I didn't really know what they were talking about at the time. I thought they were saying you get to do jiu-jitsu all day. Which I was already doing, right. So I guess the dream kind of started then. But what they actually meant was the freedom that it gives you. I raise my kids. I'm home with my kids all day, which is a blessing in itself. I am able to enjoy my day. I don't have to wake up and answer to anyone except for my wife.
Right. That's definitely the most accurate thing that could be said.
Yes. It's why I raised that pirate flag in the gym. What it represents, just the whole no 9 to 5. That's always been like a big reason to hit it hard, bro. A big reason to hit it hard. Because I didn't want to drive to Kona and work hard. I wanted to be on the mat and work hard. I didn't want to take away from my time on the mat for anything else. And I made a ton of sacrifice. And I had no money for a very, very long time. Like a very long time. But it wasn't about, I didn't care. Because I was happy. And that's everything. That was everything.
We'd mentioned your dad earlier. And I wanted to bring that too. So you're in a separate promotion. You go to Just Scrap before we go into the Just Scrap stuff. But you're sitting there with your dad. Your dad was a Green Beret, one of the baddest motherfuckers to walk the earth. God bless him.
5th Special Forces Group.
And your mom.
Zog. Zog in Laos, Cambodia.
Right.
2 tours.
Terrifying fucking background to go through. I think that's
Pop's a badass,
man. That is a badass dude. But your mom obviously has to be tough too, because she
my mom will kick all her ass.
Yeah, that's what I believe too. I was
just saw them last night. We were at a wedding. My cousin got married. I got to see my folks came up from Florida. I got to see the whole family. Got to hang out with my mom and dad.
Speaking of, now it's probably like dad's like, oh, this shit worked out really well for you. This is great. But when you initially told him, what was the reaction?
When was the first UFC? 92, 94?
1993.
1993. He had me come in. I don't know how old. 5 years old.
Okay.
UFC 1.
Right.
Maybe UFC 2. Hey son, come here. I want you to watch this guy named Royce Gracie. I want you to see the little guy defeat the bigger guy. And he sat me on his lap, and I watched Royce Gracie. I feel like he was fighting Chemo, or might have been fighting Shamrock. That was probably UFC 2 if it was Shamrock.
I think it was 1, actually. He beat Shamrock. Yeah, Paul, I think was 2, where he gassed out.
Yeah. And I just, as a kid, it's like, what am I watching? But it was cool. Like I was about it. I thought it was cool to see this form of grappling. He was using his sleeves and his own jacket to fight with. But I was so young, I didn't really understand it. So my pops was all for it. My pops supported it. But the thing is, my dad didn't want me to join the military, which was why I was going to college. He wanted me to go to college and get a degree so that I can join officer candidate school. You go to OCS, you come out as a lieutenant.
Right.
Then you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. Right?
Yeah.
You can say, hey, I want to do this. This is what I'm going to do, versus being told what you're going to do or being fed some BS.
Yeah.
About where or when. So when I was like, hey, I'm not going to continue with school. He knew I found it. And also my sister has her master's degrees, and she gave it all up to open a yoga studio, the Yoga Garden in Melbourne, Florida, where it's half yoga garden or half yoga studio, half community garden. And she's doing what she loves. My mom always jokes about, oh, well, we spent all this money for college and my kids just live on the mat all day. I had a lot of support, man. I had a whole lot of support from them. I think it would have been a little bit rougher if, every couple months, if I had to call home for $50, I need a bag of rice. I got to get a bag of rice so I can get through training camp. Nah, my pops was there to help. He watched every fight. He always would ask about every training. My mom wouldn't watch the fights. She would ask my dad, was it bloody? No, it wasn't bloody. Was it a submission? It was a submission. Okay, I'll watch it. So she didn't like, my mom wasn't, she knew I was doing what I loved.
Right.
And that just made her happy. So.
Sounds like you had a solid unit, man.
I have a solid unit, bro.
It's really awesome.
I have a solid unit. And I think just me not joining in the military, my dad was stoked. Because he's seen it, He did it so I wouldn't have to.
Right.
And he's seen the worst of it. So it was, I owe everything to them.
I think that's fucking dope. Because you usually hear it the other way around. It's like, my parents did not want me doing this. Or you have the opposite, which is the parents that were really supportive, which I'm happy you fell into that bucket. Because it's hard.
My father at one point was one of the fiercest warriors on planet Earth.
Yeah.
It's in our blood. My grandfather, his brothers, boxers. I have a picture from 1926 in Italy of my family lined up, all boxers at the Napolitano gym or something, somewhere in Italy. It's in our blood. I just enjoy it.
So that's where you get the heavy hands from, because that shit hurts. I've watched the guys you've hit before, and their reaction tells me everything I need to know. Like, that shit does not feel good. I don't care what you say.
You have to enjoy it. I've got quick finishes and I've got long fights, and I'm most fun in the long fights. The short fights leave you wanting more. Most people want a fast finish. Most people want to get in and get out. I just want to get in there and have a good fight, dude. I don't care about win, loss, or draw. I want to have a good fight, because that's really that's the only thing anyone cares about. You put on a banger of a fight.
Yeah.
They're not going to think about who won, who lost. You think about, Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald when they fought.
Yeah.
I don't even care nobody lost that fight. Who did lose that fight? Was it Rory?
Rory lost. I think his body just collapsed. Which, I mean,
nobody lost that fight. Yeah. Everyone's stock went up. And everyone's like, my God, these two guys are phenomenal. And I try to pass that off to our students. Win, loss, or draw, I don't give a shit. Just give me a hard fight. Go out there and be hard to beat. And if you can be hard to beat, you're going to find success. That's a scary motherfucker to fight, too.
Yeah, Robbie.
No, not Robbie, just someone who's hard to beat.
Oh, yeah.
Just being hard to beat in general with anything, whether it's martial arts or in life. If you're hard to beat, and you keep that mentality where it's not about the win or the loss, it's just that survival, you're going to find success.
Yeah. I think you do see it a lot in the guys that, even when they lose, the fans love them.
Yes.
I think that was what made, like, Clay Guida's earlier career. He would lose fights. But
nobody knows.
Fun.
Yeah, bro.
He's so fun to watch that you're like, fuck, I don't care that this guy lost. He was a fucking great time, because we were talking about that yesterday we were talking about the UFC 304 main card that's happening, and then we were talking about boxing, and we got into the young man Shakur Stevens. And Shakur he was an Olympian, I believe, silver medal. He lost in the Olympics. He lost at silver, which I think fucking speaks volumes to how good you are. But he has PTSD about losing, so he fights these boring ass fights.
Yeah.
He fought at home in New Jersey, and I think about like 10 rounds in, people started leaving the arena.
Oh man.
And he's a world champion.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that I continue to tell people.
Once the fun's gone, bro.
Right. Once you're not enjoying it,
you're done.
It doesn't make sense. He retired for a bit. They convinced him to come back, and then his last fight, he fought a guy who he should have been able to knock out within 4 rounds.
Yeah. Some people. So, well, granted, like I was mentioning before we hit the podcast, I'm not a fan of the sport much anymore. I don't watch it much anymore. But from experience, and it might be a little bit off topic from who you're talking about, but I've seen guys that are the best, the absolute best in the world in the gym, but they just can't put it together in competition. Not everyone's a competitor. Not everyone's a teacher. Not every good competitor is a good teacher. Not every good teacher is a good competitor. I know black belts who get submitted by blue belts, but if you ask them a question about anything related to jiu-jitsu, they will teach it to you because they know it, or vice versa. I know people who are unbeatable, untouchable. You ask them to teach something and it's dry. So some people just, they're just good in the room, and they just, when it's time to put it together in competition, they just can't.
I think I had said it before too.
Because they're not having fun. They're having fun in training.
You think the main thing is the fun?
The fun,
like,
dude. Fun is everything. Fun is everything. You need to have fun with anything you do. Now there is a seriousness to it.
Right.
But the true fighters, look at Risky, bro.
Yeah. He's
having fun. He has fun in there. Look at Sharp, bro. Sharp has fun in there. Dude, Ben has a lot of fun in there. These guys are successful.
Yeah.
I try not to, especially when I'm coaching or cornering. Some dudes are so grim when they're getting ready to go fight. They're so grim. They're nervous, and I get that. I've been there. I remember I fought for King of the Cage at Blaisdell Center. And that's where they used to put on the Rumble on the Rocks. Gomi and shit fought there. I think Anderson Silva. I don't know if they did the Hilo or they did the Wahoo show. And I remember I was just kind of grim and I was tired. And I turned to Hao and I turned to Ross. And I was like, Hao, I'm kind of tired. Can you get me? Like, we get a coffee? He's like, bro, you're on in like 5 minutes. You'll wake right up when you get in there. And I was just so grim up until I got punched in my face. Dude, and I got hit by Dustin Ching, bro. You're a savage. We went 3 hard rounds, and it was a close fight. Got the hand raised. I'll always think back to that fight, and always think back to how much I learned in that experience. I learned that I like this. I learned that I like to fight. I learned that I like to compete. It took a few fights. My first 2 fights starting, I didn't spend much time in there. You know, I was kind of in and out. TKO wins. But Dustin, bro, it took me bell to bell, and I was able to say, hey, this is how I fight. At the time, that's how I fight. I was a jiu-jitsu player. I want to say I spent a little more than half that fight on my back. I remember going into the corner, going into the 3rd round, and I remember Ross saying, bro, you need to take him down and stay on top. Otherwise, you're going to lose the fight. And to this day, Ross will be like, I found out you were one fighter. I knew you were a fighter when you got off that stool and you took him right down and you stayed on top and you beat him up. That showed it. That proved you were a fighter. And I was having fun. I was having so much fun in that 3rd round. The first 2 rounds, not so much, but man, that 3rd round, I passed a limit that I didn't know I was capable of passing. I achieved a level of grit that I didn't know I had. So that was cool.
Yeah. And I think that does kind of translate over to like how you prepare for the fight. Like you said, Risky has so much fucking fun. Even when he's training with us, Risky does shit that I'm like, oh my God, this guy is nuts. I like him.
A little too much fun, Nicholas.
Sorry, Risky. I was trying to give you the high.
No such thing as too much fun.
There's
no such thing. But I got to be hard on him because it's my job. I'm his coach.
Right. That's the coaching job. That's the gig. But like you said, there are guys that are in this gym that like they do look a bit tense when we're sparring, to the point that I've even had to tell people like, hey, when you're sparring with me, you don't have to worry about getting injured. I'm not going to injure you because this is the training room and I'm not here to hurt you. You're not the guy who I need to fuck up. You're not on contract.
That's what you call a good training partner.
Yeah. And I try to do that. I think I do a decent job.
Yes. Most of our guys do. Yeah. And just the way we train, bro, just weeds out the bullshit.
Right. There's no nonsense.
There's no nonsense. It's hard training. Guys are showing up. We're having fun.
Yeah, we have a blast.
Over anything, but we're hitting it hard.
Yeah, and I think for anyone that hasn't done some type of MMA training, you definitely should. I've been training most of my life now. I'm 29. I think I have like 15 years training, maybe 16.
It's lifelong.
It's lifelong, and I still...
Turn into 30, it'll turn into 60. God
yeah, if we can. God bless us if we can get that.
Right.
But I remember, like, I think...
Larry Vitale.
Oh, shit.
So I was running Larry. I don't want to say the wrong age. He's not old. He's not young. He is young, actually. Like, mentally.
Right.
Mentally, the guy is 18 years old, bro. And I met him. I was doing a dry cleaning route. Mm-hmm. So I left Hawaii. I moved to Florida. Florida was cool. It's hard to get good work. We moved back up to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And started working at 914. But I was also running a dry cleaning route all over Scarsdale. Mansions, bro. I would pick up and deliver dry cleaning.
That's
bring it down to Yonkers, get it done cheap, and bring it back. Charge normal prices, and that was a hustle. That I hated it, bro. I hated it, but it made everything else more worth it. It made everything else more fun when I was on the mat.
Yeah, I believe it. And like you said, it's like if you stay young at heart, you have a good time.
Yeah. Sorry. So Larry was one of my customers. I remember the first time doing the route. I kind of inherited it. There was the gentleman that was doing the route before me, just had some health issues. He's good now. So I took over the route, and I remember rolling up to Larry's house at the time. I didn't know him. And he's like, he saw my ears. It's like wrestling or jiu-jitsu. I was like, both. I was telling my teacher at 914, and at the time he was at a gym that was very close to us. He's like, oh my gosh, I would love to come train with you. Probably like 2-3 days later, he came into the gym, and I started giving him private lessons. He actually got his blue belt from Hoist Gracie way back, yeah. And I gave him his purple belt. He's now outside of Portland. He's up in Oregon. He just moved out to Oregon, and it broke my heart when he moved, but he was so young in his mind. He will make black belt. I would bet the house, it might take him another 5-10 years. But he's having fun. And because he has so much fun, he's so youthful. He doesn't take it so serious. He's come with the best questions. Our private lessons wouldn't be, this is the technique. It would be a conversation, kind of like what we're having right now. And we would get into it and talk about these positions and talk about the jiu-jitsu and the theories behind them. And he taught me, man, just to keep it young and just to have fun. I miss you, Larry, but I'll see you again soon.
That's sick. We go into the latter part of your time at Penn Training Center. You leave, you go to Florida for a while, and then you come back to New York. When you leave, what would you say was the most valuable thing that you had learned at that team with Boston?
At BJ's?
Yeah.
BJ told us all to get a black belt in something. He never said jiu-jitsu. This is one of the most valuable things I was taught. But he told us to get a black belt. And I hated the gi, bro. Oh, man, I hated the gi. Oh, man. But I fell in love with the gi with American Top Team when I got down and met Wade and the boys over there. I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. I think Wade saw something in my jiu-jitsu and really just started pushing competitions on me. But being told to get the black belt, again, at the time, you don't understand. Why get a black belt? Who cares? I didn't care. But it's a safety net. It's a career. It's an achievement. It's a degree in itself. Some people say, which I don't really agree with, but it's more work than earning a doctorate. Right. So just BJ saying to earn the black belt was some of the most valuable advice I was given. So we'll roll on that for right now.
Get a black belt.
That's what comes to mind. Perfect it.
I appreciate that one. I was wanting to think, I was like, damn, I wonder what it was. But going into your competition schedule, which I think is fucking scary, you go into Just Scrap under BJ's. That's BJ's promotion, right?
That used to be Rumble on the Rock. So Rumble on the Rock became the Just Scrap. It's just that mentality, the Just Scrap mentality.
Yeah, BJ had a whole campaign for it, and I remember a lot of his gear had it.
Yep.
And then I watched your fights on it, and
but it was just scrap. Just go fight and have fun.
And I mean, that's something that I've heard you say a million times. We're not here for bullshit and vanity. We're here to scrap.
We're here to scrap, bro.
You want to scrap? You want to get? Yeah. You want to scrap? You come.
You like scrap, bro? That's what Chad said to me. Hey, want to fight? Oh, you like scrap? Get in a cage. Dude, I remember walking down there. I remember one of my first experiences watching. It was Kendall Grove and BJ. I have some pictures actually on the flip phone. Pictures. It was Kendall. It was BJ. Oh man, it was Brandon Thatch was down there. Oh man, the people that walked through that door was crazy. But for that training camp, I want to say he was getting ready for either Stevenson or I want to say Florian. Might have been the Florian fight, and that was kind of my first camp with them. Was the Florian fight. Because the Sanchez fight came after the Florian fight?
Yeah, the Sanchez came after.
That Florian camp was crazy. I want to say, I don't know, again, the timeline's all over the place, but he brought in the Marinovich brothers, and they had a very unorthodox way of training. I guess they trained football players before that.
Right.
And the squat machines, right, where your shoulders and
it kind of makes you load the squat with the heels back.
Yeah, but it's like padded, right? So instead, they would put us on a medicine ball, and we'd put our feet on it. And you would have to explode up. Instead of doing squats, your feet would be pressing this thing up. We would be doing balance drills. Reagan Penn, BJ's youngest brother, would have us walk on our tippy toes backwards all over town to strengthen the legs. I remember going down to Waipio Valley to the green room, hidden gym, no power, wild horses, borrow fields, no cell service, just a whole community of Hawaiians that lived down there. You drive down one of the steepest roads in the country, down into Waipio. You bang a left up the river, like into the river, and you drive up the river. Yes, you drive. And I was with I remember getting the call. I think Joey Gomez hit me up and he says, "Hey, we're going down Waipio. You're coming." Okay, I'll be back. I was just headed out to surf. I'll meet you at the house. And Rambo out of Maui was in the back of the pickup truck. And I was rolling with Coates. Coates hit me up. Coates. Well, I jumped in the back of Coates' pickup truck, big Dodge Ram, and we arrived at the green room. And just getting back to the unorthodox training, man, he would have us that day after hard training. Actually, I popped my rib real quick. My first round with BJ that day, I think this was for the Sanchez fight. I remember he had a front head and arm on me, and I went to pull a half guard from standing, and my body kind of accordion, and my rib popped, and it was just the next 48 hours was just hell with training. But you make it through it. But after training, we were walking out to the ocean, and we would walk through about 20-minute walk with one eye covered, just to exercise the eyes, just to make the eyes stronger. They call it the green room because the whole room is lime green.
Oh shit!
So, and I guess that has to do with reaction timing and visuals, right? That color, for some reason, I guess some science behind it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was just unorthodox training. So I kind of got off topic with that, but it's cool story
No,
to tell.
it's cool to talk about.
Cool piece of history right there.
Yeah, the Maranovich brothers are pretty well known because of that time with BJ where they were really giving his strength and conditioning the biggest leg up. And
Yes.
their understanding.
Oh, that was the Edgar camp. That was the Edgar camp 3, which we're not going to talk about.
I'm gonna
The tippy toes. I can talk about why we were doing the tippy toes. So everyone sees that third fight with BJ and he's up on his tippy toes. My understanding of the whole tippy toe strategy was to keep Frankie, I guess it's an old school way to box, but it was to keep Frankie behind the jab and to stop the shots with the jabs. To be tall, to be able to be above him, which as a wrestler, I'm not going to say I disagreed with it. Now in hindsight, yeah, I guess I disagree with it. But the whole tippy toe thing was just to keep the straight punches down the pipe and to stop the wrestling with the straight punches, cause chaos when he gets in close. And it didn't work,
unfortunately.
But BJ likes to knock people out. So I mean, yeah, BJ, go in there, take him down, submit him. That's not how he fights. He wants to scrap.
He does like to go through the war.
He wants to scrap.
I mean, the fact that he fought Lyoto Machida still.
Yo,
to this day, I was like, excuse
at
me.
205?
Yeah, somebody told me, yeah,
Dude,
BJ fought everybody. He even fought Lyoto. And I said,
let's talk about BJ. I think there's at one point, because you always hear these things about, people, fans of the sport, worst fans in the world, talk shit. But BJ didn't like being in front of the camera. I remember they're doing an interview. One of my first jobs at BJ's was I want to say my first job at BJ's gym was to scrub the bottoms of the mats. And I'm talking like I would flip these mats open, dude, and it would just be black, just caked on them. And I would like chisel it all off and I would spray it and I would clean it and I can still smell it. And I remember I'm cleaning up and the UFC crew's there to interview him for probably the Florian fight. And they're like, everyone out. And I'm packing my shit up and I'm like trying to rush. And I'm like fumbling over like the cleaning equipment. Like, I'm like dropping shit. And BJ's like, bro, you stay. I want you to stay. I want you to watch the interview. I want you to hang out. And I was like, whoa, like I was new to the place, bro. I was Howley. I was foreign. And he's asking me to stay and watch. This was before any relationship really was with anyone other than BJ Penn at the time. So dude was always willing to help. BJ is a good coach. BJ was a good mentor. It was cool. He made you feel like you're a part of the family, part of the team, bro. You were. If you were there, you were part of the team, and he made damn sure you felt that way. And credit to him, for that, for just saying, hey, stick around, watch the interview. I thought that was really cool. It made me feel like, hey, this is home. And it became home for the next 9 years after that, where I got in with Ross and I got in with Chad, and Ross is like a dad to me, bro. And Chad's Mother Goose, Tohana. That whole team of Hawaiians, man, there's nothing like it. They were Boss MMA at one point in time. They were the best team in the world. And I'm not just talking about, winning fights or big stages. I'm talking about the camaraderie. Just the team just showed up, dude. And again, they were working. They were over in Kona and they were working hard and it was hot. And they would show up every day at 5:30 and train. If they didn't have a fight, they were still there. Someone was always fighting. So good coaching, bro, is what it all comes down to. Good coaching is why I'm sitting here right now.
Solid. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because you turned pro in 2015. You beat Isaac Hobbs in your pro debut of all fucking things at featherweight. You beat him in...
Bro, he hit me so hard.
Oh my god, I saw.
I thought I was on the other side of the fence. No, straight up. And so Ross had me training, warming up. I think Toby was on the card. Toby Too Quick music.
Yeah.
You're a savage. Toby likes to throw these flying knees, right? So Ross actually had me warming up with these flying knees. And after I got hit and I went through the fence and I came back into the cage, like in my mind, I couldn't get Isaac down and I threw this flying knee and I fell. And Isaac came rushing in and just fed me a single leg. And I ran the pipe, I think, on it. I think I ran the pipe on it, got him down. And I remember I'm in his corner. One of his coaches would come to train with us. Didn't really like me. He would just kind of always... I'm not going to get into that. But I remember sitting there and like looking up, like smiling. And in my head, bro, I will sit here for the next 2 hours with no problem. And we'll win this fight. And we were half guard players. We were big time half guard players. I love to sit in half guard on top. And in jiu-jitsu, half guard, bottom guy's holding on to top guy. They don't want you to pass. In MMA, I'm holding on to you. We're staying in half guard. I'm going to cause damage until we hit what's called the BJ pass. My buddy Joel went to a seminar at Shaolin's in New York City. And I was like, oh, what did he teach you, bro? Was it a half guard pass and a 3/4 mount? And he's like, that's exactly what he taught. It's the BJ pass. So I hit that exact pass. Listen to my corner. They want me to chill. They want me to settle. They want me to beat him up, land some elbows, land some short elbows, land some punches, beat him up, wait for him to want you to pass. And yeah, got to hit the BJ pass in that fight. Got up, got to mount. He just gave up his back, and his chin was a little too high, so I was able to get the finish there. But man, dude, Isaac hit me hard, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't want those hands, and I didn't have confidence in my striking at the time. I credit a lot of that to Eugene McDonald, our striking coach. Greg Melia really got my confidence up with striking. And granted, I mean, we were, in Hilo, I was considered more of a wrestler, more of a grappler, and that was my style of fighting at the time. And that has since changed. So.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually gonna go into that. When you left Hawaii and you go to Florida, what ended up happening that you ended up at America Top Team? Because you get the call from Wade Rome, was it?
So Matt Song Lee, who now owns Ithaca BJJ. If you're in Ithaca, go check out Matt for some outstanding jiu-jitsu. He came out to Hawaii, and I want to say he was with us for about a year. And he knew I was moving to Florida, and he kept telling me to get with American Top Team, find an ATT gym. So when we left Hawaii, we moved to Florida. I remember they asked me on the mic, dude, after the Hobbs fight, they're like, what's next? And I did not have the heart to say I'm leaving at the time. Like, I just couldn't say it. I didn't want to accept it. We actually moved to Cape Coral, outside of the west coast of Florida. I was working as a barback at Duffy's and training. And I remember watching, like, the fighters. They'd have the UFCs on, and I'd be like, what the fuck am I doing? Why did I leave Hilo? Let me find a gym. Let me get back to training. And there was an American Top Team in that area. I think it was in Fort Myers. And I rolled up to the big ATT sign that was outside, and I'm staring at it, and I throw the Jeep in reverse, and I go home like, nah, dude, I'm not doing this. I'm not going in there. Went to work that night. The fights are on. This shit's just following me. So I went back the next day, and I walked in. There's just these guys at the desk, just fucking cauliflowers and tattoos, and they're looking at me like, I'm like, oh, I'm here to train. Like, I just moved to town from Hilo, BJ's gym. I'm just looking to train. They're like, oh, all right, it's sick. Like, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are like super nice, like super scary looking, but they're like super nice. And it was good training, bro. You know who came out of there was, he had the up kick knockout. He kind of fights like the Diaz brothers. His name escapes me. So some guys have come out of that gym.
Yeah.
Out of that American Top Team. It wasn't the HQ. It wasn't the one in Coconut Creek. But anyway, I loved the training. I did not like the city. I didn't like the west coast of Florida. It was very NASCAR and Budweiser. It felt like a halfway home from leaving Hilo, one tropical place to another, without the pure adventure, without the, waterfalls and black sand beaches. And I didn't like my job. My wife didn't like her job. We actually the big reason we left Hawaii was my wife had gotten a good job offer, but she doesn't, it was a lot of pesticides. She works with plants. But it was all pesticide use, and she didn't like that job. She didn't want to do it. So, all right, let's go east to the east coast of Florida. And that is where I can start answering your question, which was...
How did you end up working with Wade Rome?
How did I end up working with Wade Rome? So I got to Florida, where I was living with my parents at the time. My wife and I were just finding, which we eventually did, down Melbourne Beach in the middle of nowhere, bro, on the Treasure Coast. Gorgeous. There's like tortoises in the yard, cougars and shit, sharks everywhere. Doug Flutie was my neighbor. He was a famous football player. And I was training with Brazilian Top Team, actually, at the time. Edgar Dutra.
Yeah.
Good ass jiu-jitsu, bro. I had good training. But my buddy Koa Fonseca, who is a very good friend of BJ's, lived down there. And he was in the area. He's like, bro, you gotta come meet Wade. Just come meet Wade, bro. I was like, oh man, I'm happy. Like, I like the training. It's right down the street from my parents' house. But I'll come check it out. And I met Wade. And like, I knew like who I was talking to. I was nervous. But again, I was happy with with where I was at, where I started training when I got to Florida. But Wade talked to me. He pulled me aside. I was like, what do you want to do? I was like, yo, I want to train. I want to train. I want to fight. And said the right things with zero bullshit. Like, there was just no bullshit with what he was telling me. And I wanted to go back the next day. You know, the training was good. And, you know, maybe I'll go back the next day. You know, I really like what Wade said about navigating your career, getting with the right training partners. You know, train, cool. You're with BTT, great, awesome. I thought that was cool. He never tried to be like, hey, train here. You should be here instead. Never. And I think him not saying to me to like be here and train here instead, the fact that he did not say that was like, hey, I kind of want to go train there. Like, he's not trying to snipe me. He's not trying to pull me in. And he liked my jujitsu, and I liked his jujitsu. Granted, he's a bigger guy. So it's bigger guy jujitsu, you know?
Yeah.
But I want to be the bigger guy when I'm out there, you know? And I was used to big Polynesians, bro. I was already I was used to that damn near a decade. So it was love at first sight.
That's beautiful.
He made me fall in love with jiu-jitsu. I almost quit at one point. I almost quit jiu-jitsu at one point. But it's just on to the next tournament. He was just, you know, go compete here, go compete there. And I was winning. And the only I took in Florida under Wade was against Enrico Coco at Sapatiro 1. Dan Martinez. Enrico Coco's just a freak jiu-jitsu player. Dan Martinez, EBI champion. I lost to Dan. He actually tore my LCL. I lost to Tony Way. There's one more. Can't remember his name, but at one point he was a brown belt world champion. So my losses were against black belts, and I was a blue belt. But I was hanging in. And Wade really made me fall in love with jiu-jitsu, bro. I had the gi on so much at his gym that the skin was falling off my back. It was hot, dude. It was so hot. Florida's hot.
Yeah, Florida is too humid.
Yeah, so I was there at his gym, which was in Rockledge at the time. And then his neck, you know, half of it was like a CrossFit gym at the time. And then his next spot, which was also in Melbourne, more space. I just watched the gyms grow and grow. And his now gym, which I cannot wait to see, 10,000 square feet with the cage and the boxing ring and the huge mat space and the workout equipment and the lockers and the showers. So they just opened last month. If you're in Melbourne, Florida, go to Control Jiu-Jitsu, ask for Wade, and go get some of the best training you will find just in general, man. That I can't wait to get back down there. I think I'm going to bring Risky. I think maybe we'll go down in fall, see the academy, get some training, teach some classes, and, you know, see the boys, see the team.
Yeah, that's sick. We had Wade on the podcast, by the way. So
I know
he
was stoked, bro.
That episode. Please make sure to go back, because that guy's a genius. He's
an OG, bro.
The rooms he's been in there with Noguera brothers. He's been in there. I mean, Ricardo Laborio is a coral belt. That's a legendary status in jiu-jitsu, and that's the guy that was teaching Wade, and Wade was out there against the.
Well, Wade's one of the founding fathers of American Top Team,
right,
alongside Laborio. I want to say Dan Lambert. I feel like Jeff Monson, maybe. I don't quote me on that.
I know he's spoken about Monson being there all the time, though.
Yep.
Like, he really did support the team a lot. And then I think it was Dan was more monetary than anything, but Dan was really good to the team. Yeah. And, you know, that's always a great thing to have, a good center like.
Wade was actually, I believe, one of Askren's early wrestling coaches.
And he told me the story about how Askren lost his entire first season. His dad was like,
I believe it.
I think you want to, he's like, maybe you want to quit. And he's like, no, Dad, I'm just figuring this out. And that's how he came up with that funky style, which I think till this day, like, I hate that he doesn't get the love in the MMA community, but in wrestling,
because all the fans suck.
Yeah, I gotta say that.
That's why I'm not a fan of the sport.
I respect that. That's been my.
It's also because it's also athletes now. It used to be fighters. Like Forrest Griffin, man, that era of tap out, that era of fighters, bro. And it's not that anymore. I don't watch it. I don't support it because I don't like how they're paid. I don't like how the athletes are treated unless you're the best in the world, which is an old model, man. It's an old boxing model. You know, you're putting on these shows, pay your people. So I'm not going to pay you, give you money if you're not paying your people. You know, first UFC fight for $10,000, dude. That's crazy to me, dude. That's crazy.
I think recently with Venom, they've kind of upped it a little bit.
I hate that. No, but you make so much money on sponsors.
That was what I was a little upset about.
My money that I'd make fighting would be off of sponsors.
Right. Having them on the shorts makes a big difference.
They do the work for you.
having that banner like they used to have. I think the banner was the coolest thing.
Yeah, bro.
To the point that there were boxers that would tell me, they're like, yo, you know, the one thing I'm really jealous of, you fucking MMA fighters, you guys have banners. Like, that's so fucking great. That's sponsorship opportunities with more money.
And not even that, you're helping the homies, bro. You have a company, your podcast would be on my banner, you know, in front of the world.
And that's another one that
People
also
wanna
helps.
Tune into that.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
they did the Reebok deal.
Yeah, Reebok killed
That's kind of when I'm done. I'm not gonna watch. And I'll still tune into the big fights. But again, as I mentioned before the cast, I've really been enjoying watching Glory. I love how those guys fight, just the K1 style of fighting. Man, they just. I was watching Gregorian.
Yeah.
Versus some 21-year-old bald-headed dude. I don't know. Man, it was one of the best fights I've ever seen, dude. It was like really, you could see the art. And so that's where I'm at right now. But I do it all day. When I get home, I want to chill, you know.
It makes sense to want to unwind from it.
I want to chill out.
I see that, you know, Coach Eugene, when he's here, he'll have the TV on and he'll have one championships playing, which I think is fucking awesome.
I like one.
I like one a lot too.
I like how they're bringing the grapplers over. PJ Barch, put them on. Get them on one. It's cool. They got the Rotolos over there. Mikey Musumeci is killing it. Danielle Kelly, who, New Jersey, but she's also training in Westchester. I know she was up at Black Hole for a little bit.
Yeah, I've watched.
Shout out to Wacker and those guys. So it's really cool to see what they're doing to jiu-jitsu. And it's like, dude, you put on a good grappling match. And what's the owner of one? Chatri's like, dude, here's 50K. Yeah. Whoa, what, dude? For jiu-jitsu, yo, that's crazy. But it's the golden age of jiu-jitsu right now.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to do it. Everyone wants to learn it. It was different back then. There was one academy. I was a kid, man. We would go to Pleasantville, and it was just different, dude. Training was just, everything was different. There were no bolos, and it was guard passing, pressure jiu-jitsu is all it was. And now it's the evolution of jiu-jitsu and seeing people make money and how big ADCs have become. And you've got CJI of the Craig Jones Invitational that's going to occur for $1 million pot to win.
You know, 2 $1 million pots. And then he's doing super fights, which he's paying the super fights pretty well. Actually, a few of the fighters haven't disclosed the payouts, but they're like, no, this is like way past ADCC money.
Oh, so they're no. So they're getting, so ADCs, you get $10,000 to win.
Right.
So they're getting, just to show up,
$10,001. That's the fucking.
That's the most petty shit ever.
I know, but I love it.
I love it.
I fucking, and then his match with Gabby is gonna. I think I'm gonna cry laughing. I think it might be the best jiu-jitsu match ever.
I like what Craig's doing. I'm actually not thrilled that it's on the same weekend. I see what they're doing.
Yeah,
I see what they're doing, but there is a division there. So we'll actually, I think that's August 17th. We'll be showing them here at Legends. We'll be showing ADC on one screen and CGI on the others. We'll be doing some belt promotions, maybe a little barbecue. We're gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to see where jiu-jitsu is now.
That's what I'm saying. The evolution of it to the point where guys can now make a decent living. Maybe not the best living, but way better than before. Because I think I watched a documentary. I watched Choke, which was Hicks and Gracie, but the Gracies had already built that legacy and made the money.
I love what the Gracies did with the dojo storming.
Yeah.
Back then, me and Risky want to do the reverse. We want to earn our karate black belts, and we want to dojo storm jiu-jitsu gyms.
I'm not gonna. Whatever goes on in the mind of these two, I love them, but
jiu-jitsu doesn't work against people that know jiu-jitsu in a fight.
Shit.
So we're gonna hit them with some karate, bro. We're gonna just do dojo storm jiu-jitsu gyms and hit them with karate. So we're coming. We're coming.
I can't fucking deal with y'all. I had a feeling it was going somewhere.
That's next on the list. No, but in all seriousness, no, it's really cool to see.
Yeah.
You know what ONE FC is doing. So I do tune in, do watch ONE. Aizen's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think the whole Japanese or the Asian scene, just fan base is super respectful.
Yeah.
Tom DeBlas doing a lot with ONE FC, bringing it to the US. That's really cool. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
I think the other thing too, like growing up in the era, like I saw what MMA was and jiu-jitsu was then and what it is now, and it looks so different to me now because I got to see the Gracies back in Pride. I grew up on the Pride days.
Dude,
I got blessed.
Pride was.
I got so blessed to know Pride because I have a lot of younger cousins. That
I hope so. My team in Hilo, just a bunch of old school fighters. Ross Ibanez, Mike Ina, Iron Mike Ina went to a split decision with Nick Diaz.
Shit.
With Strikeforce. They hit him up. They hit Mike up. Mike dropped Diaz in the second round of that fight, I believe. And Iron Mike, he got the call to fill in. So Diaz's original opponent pulled out, and they called Mike. And Mike just got married, and he was going to leave for his honeymoon. He's like, "Mom, I'm supposed to be on my honeymoon for that fight." And they scrapped the honeymoon, and he went and fought. So, I mean, that's just that era, dude.
Yeah, it was different. That's my point.
Troy Mandalones on the team, dude. Cabbage Correa.
Cabbage?
Dude, Cabbage, bro. Dude, seeing Cabbage is the man. Just that whole, man, that team, there was nothing like it in the world, bro. And the Hawaiians like to fight. It's in their blood. It's the culture. It's, at one point, people thought I was Hawaiian. Like, they thought I was from Hilo. But they would see me every day working the front desk and shit, so I get it. But that is home. Aunt TLC always called me her Howley nephew. So I was definitely miss it. I miss them. But it's just not, it wasn't, I think at one point I kind of looked around, like PJ Barch, good friend of mine and good training partner of mine from Hilo. I remember he had moved to San Diego. A bunch of my buddies had left. And I kind of looked around and I was like, I felt a little foreign, you know. I felt a little bit like it was time to see what's next. And I think Florida was the right move for that. Man, a lot of people. Keenan Cornelius,
holy shit,
came out of BJ's.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
His stepdad at the time, Tom Kalos, got Keenan Jiu-Jitsu young, and then Keenan left at, I think, Blue Belt and went to Lloyd Irvin's, and then eventually ended up at Atos. So, man, there's just so many people that I was able to meet at that academy, and just kind of learn something from somebody, whether they're a white belt or a black belt. It was the best training in the world. English Rob, dude. English Rob used to live in the back. He used to live in a shipping container in the back of BJ's gym, dude. Old English dude with like sailor tattoos. Always had a shirt off and some just a giant dog that would be walking around the academy. And he'd always bring me aside and like show me like certain like let me see the jab. Blimey, let me see the jab, mate. And I'd like pop the jab. No, man, he's still making the same mistakes. So it was just a cool group of fighters, man. And again, they're just the culture, the Hawaiian culture. They like to fight. And for my 20s, when I like to fight, I was in the right place.
I was actually going to ask you about your fight career. You go to 914 Training Center. You were with Coach Greg, with Coach Eugene. I think I even saw PJ in your corner for that fight.
Against the
combat.
Yeah.
Was Sadiq Ismailov?
Yeah.
The Russian cat, right?
Yeah.
That was a scary Russian.
That was a good fight, man. He's a good wrestler. And going back to learning something from everyone. The Aussie from excuse me. I'm not trying, I didn't want to mention names. The BJ fight, the Frankie Edgar 3. Well, the jab will stop the shot, but you gotta have the right stance with it. So the whole game plan in that fight was to just create chaos with the hands when he tries to wrestle, when he tries to tie up, just put out short, just in Hilo, we were pressure fighters. We fight in the pocket. Hawaiians love, look at Max Holloway, love to fight in the pocket.
Yeah.
Hawaiians just love that up close, personal, nasty place to fight. And I just turned that into keeping him at the end of my jab, which I learned from the Edgar camp, the Edgar 3 camp. And just causing chaos every time I tried to fight.
Yeah.
Short punches. I think I dropped him off a hook.
You chopped him off like 4 times.
Yeah.
It was scary.
And you know, and Sodiq is legit good fighter, bro. He's comes out of Lions Fight Gym in Queens, which is Zaruk Adashev's gym. Who's I believe he was I know he's K1 champion, I think, for Glory, and he's now a UFC fighter. Ben was actually supposed to fight. We're 1-1 against them. Tevin fought Zaruk at Bellator. Tevin looked grim. He didn't look like Tevin in that fight.
Yeah.
He came out grim, bro.
Yeah, I remember
he wasn't having fun. He wasn't having fun.
He was sitting in the corner. He looked
Bro,
exhausted.
he was not having fun, bro. And you know, you're fighting Zaruk, so it's like, fuck, it's going to be brutal, but we just couldn't put it together. And then we were supposed to have our third fight against them tonight. Actually, we were supposed to fight them tonight, bro. Ben was supposed to fight for a national title. Ben DeCrenza.
The Debt Collector. I
fucking hate that name, bro.
I do too.
It's supposed to be Deadeye.
Man, I love you,
It should have
bro.
been Deadeye DeCrenza. Ben the Decision DeCrenza. Cut that out. Don't even put that in the book.
I mean, I have to the shirt. I have the t-shirt and I put it up.
I'm just talking shit because he's my student. I love him. I feel like he's like a little brother to me. But we were supposed to fight them. Again, that would have been our third fight against that gym to settle the score. But it's all respect, you know. Before we even took the fight, I called Zaruk. And me and Zaruk have the same opinion on it. You know, it's the guys are young and it's good experience for both of them. So let's fight. And it would have been going down tonight, but our opponent had bad knee injury. So the fight's off and we'll do it again.
Yeah,
we'll do it.
Yeah, there's always a time for that belt, and you know, the good thing is Ben is still in the amateur part of his career where he can get all the experience in the world right now. Again, we do hope that his opponent does pull through. I hope
He'll be fine.
got a nice recovery,
Yeah,
my man.
The kid's young.
Yeah, but you always worry because like those.
And the kid's good, man. We actually shared a locker room with him at one of Lou Neglia's shows. I want to say like 6 months ago. We shared a locker room with him, and I was watching this kid warm up. His name's escaping me right now. And like just watching this kid warm up, I was like, man, like this kid is young. I think he was 17. He's now 18.
Wow.
But just seeing the warm, like my God, this kid hits hard, bro. Hopefully I don't want to fight that guy. And then lo and behold, we actually both lost that night. Our fighter lost, and the opponent who we were supposed to fight tonight lost. In similar fashion, actually, getting caught up against the fence. You go out to Long Island to fight, bro. It's just a bunch of savage wrestlers. But it would have made for a great fight, a really exciting fight for RFC, and it would have been right across the bridge, dude.
Right here.
You know how great that is? It was a fight across the bridge. So I hope the team still goes and supports the show.
Yeah. I gotta say, shout out to Coach Ricky, by the way, because that might be the nicest fucking human being I've ever interacted with. And as a promoter, he's been like, I've told him like I'm so out of shape and I'm so scared to get in there and then like look like complete shit. He's like, take your time, and then I know I had him. They'll just call me and I'll have something ready for you. I'm not gonna throw you to the lions.
What I liked about Ricky, bro. So I love what he's doing with his program. He's got the second academy, I think, in New Jersey that they're opening. But I did not like how the commission at one of the events was treating the fighters, like corralling them like sheep, yelling at us at the rules meeting. And I had said something, and he addressed it. Like he went to the commission. It's like, nah, let's fix that. Because the fighters put in the work, bro. If the fighter needs more warm up space or whatever the hell the fighter needs, and I get it. A big reason I'm not a fan of the sport is because New York kind of ruined it with the rule set for the amateurs. So your first like 2 or 3 fights in New York, you can't ground and pound to the head, which attracts just people that, I'm going to go do some cage fighting. Like total amateurs, just total oblivious amateurs, total oblivious coaches, which for professionals, or for people that run an amateur program as though they're professionals. So I understand why the commission talks or treats the fighters like they do. It's almost like corralling cats, I guess. But just don't put those people on your show, I guess.
Yeah.
Get the legit gyms. Get the gyms that treat the amateurs, the amateur fights as equals with the pros and the professional fights, because they're just as important. Honestly, I like watching amateur fights more than I like watching professional fights.
Really?
They got 9 minutes to get the job done.
Yeah.
So then it is going to get sloppy.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a fight. It's going to look like a good fight. Pros, we have 15 minutes to get the job done. It's a slower fight. Obviously, the techniques are better. Right. But the amateur fights, dude, are always exciting, though. I like to watch those fights.
I think after I talked to a few of the guys that like had made their debuts in amateurs, I was like, something? I've seen you spar like 6 hard rounds and look great for 5 minutes each. And then they get into the amateurs and you can see them gasping for air.
That's nerves, bro.
Yeah?
That's nerves, man. So it's like anything. If we were to run a race, and let's say a 3-mile race, you're going to run as fast as you can to try to win that race. And you're going to get tired as hell, and you're probably not going to finish the race. But with time and experience, you understand the pacing of the fight. So I think the amateurs, but it makes for some sloppy fights.
Which I think you like.
Which I like.
Okay.
It looks like a fight, dude. It looks like a good fight.
All right, so you go to Ring of Combat, you compete, you win the fight, and then after that you do the match.
So that all came from Rise Invitational, actually, Matt Cully. So I was competing with Rise Invitational a lot. Big tournaments or super fights. Sodiq's original opponent had pulled out, and Matt had messaged me, "Hey, do you want to step in?" And that was a good opportunity. I'm not going to say no. I've been competing for Rise, which is a branch of Ring of Combat, and I had 5 weeks. And they were like, and I was like, well, what's the pay? And they're like, ticket sales. I was like, hell no, you got to pay me X and X. That's X to show, X to win, and I'm happy. Which, because I was taking the short notice fight, cool with. And just being in front of a crowd with Rise Invitational and then going into the cage, it just felt natural. I'd been competing. I feel good with these guys. So I was very comfortable in that fight.
You went and you got into that fight. You got multiple knockdowns. Then you win by decision.
Yeah, bro, I won by decision, but I should have put him away in the second round. Can I take a piss real quick?
Do you think?
1 second. Hold that thought. Another episode of the Goddamn Podcast featuring Adam Baum and Danny.
I like that one.
Here at Legends.
That's
Martial
a good
Arts.
cut. That's a good
in
cut.
Westchester, New York.
Of course. Briarcliff, man.
Dangerous Danny Manaya.
I don't mind dangerous.
Danger Zone. Flying right into the danger zone.
Wow.
I had to pee. It's been a long day. I was at a wedding until 2 a.m. and then taught 8 a.m., 9:30, 10:30, gave a private lesson, had to do an interview for a documentary on one of our fighters. And here we are now at the goddamn podcast. And I was holding in that pee-pee from this morning.
I'm so sorry. All right, so let me get to the next part of our question. So we were talking previously about
Sadiq.
Sadiq
The fight.
and the fight.
Scrapping. Comfortable. Rise Invitational.
Right. And then they let you take the fight, tell them, hey, I'm only going to take the fight if it's X amount. They agreed to it, obviously, because who the fuck wouldn't? And then after you fight him, though you stated you wish you had finished that one, you went up and did another Rise match, but against Dennis Bermudez.
Yeah, against Bermudez, dude. I forgot about that. That was fun, man. That was fun. That was supposed to be a 10-minute match. It got cut to a 6-minute match. I think that Dennis' stomach was all messed up or something. Weight cuts, I get it. So they cut it to a 6-minute match, and I wanted to wrestle. I'm not a guard puller. I pulled guard in that match. Our game plan, we were going to wrestle for the first 4 minutes. It's a 10-minute match, and we got rid of that. So all right, I've got 6 minutes to submit Dennis Bermudez. Dude, that fucking guy is a fire hydrant, bro. That I've never he damn near immovable. So that was I should have wrestled in hindsight. We should have just wrestled. He was telling me come on, let's wrestle. And I was like, nah, dude, we came here to do jujitsu. Let's do jujitsu. Dude, at one point, he actually rocked me in that match. He blast doubled into my butterfly guard and the back of my head. And dude, I was all my head was spinning from it. And I use that entry now. I use that blast double into the butterfly guard entry now all the time.
I mean, at least you got to think from that. So yeah, thank you, Dennis. Because fuck, I mean, he looked.
Dude, that dude was a fire hydrant. I couldn't really get any offense going, but he also wasn't trying to do jujitsu. He wanted to wrestle. He's a wrestler. I get it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
But I would have liked to get into the actual artwork of the martial art, get into the flow of jujitsu, get into some scrambles and submissions, and actually play guard instead of this do jujitsu and then reset, do jujitsu and then reset. So that was kind of frustrating. But again, in hindsight, I should have just stood up and done wrestled a little bit. But we came there to do jujitsu.
And that's what you did.
But it was cool, man. It was fun. It was a fun match. That was on UFC Fight Pass, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. And yeah.
I mean, we were talking about Hawaii a lot. And with good reason, Hawaii is one of those phenomenal fucking things for you where you spent a good portion of your life.
Huge influence, bro. That was a huge influence.
Because what most people don't know, most jiu-jitsu gyms you go, you're going to see a big Brazilian flag somewhere. We don't have that. We have a Hawaiian flag.
Yeah.
We have a Hawaiian flag.
It's in the office right now. It's been
that's when I first came, after 914 Training Center, I came here. And I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't see the Brazilian flag anywhere. No. And then I look at the back left corner, this huge Hawaiian flag. And I said, well, our roots are in Hawaii then. And you had explained that to us. But then I was kind of like, damn, what was it that made you want to open Legends? And then on top of that, you got one of the most infamous jiu-jitsu players in the room with you as the co-owner.
Mike Thrilla Davila.
Mike Thrilla Davila is, for those of you who don't know, we're going to talk about that when I have Mike on the pod. I have to get him on because his story is fucking crazy. And, the Danaher stuff, I definitely want to.
Marcelo's 30th black belt?
Yeah, 30th black belt. Right. So first of all, how did you two gravitate towards each other to open a fucking gym together? And then why did you guys go, you know what, we're going to open our gym. Fuck this.
Tevin Dice, for the Rise Invitationals, for the Sodiq fight. Tevin was like, I'm going to bring in my buddy Mike. And I was like, Mike, who? It's like Mike Davila. I was like, okay. So I met Mike for the first time I ever saw Mike. I was cornering PJ Barch at Finishers 3. Shout out to Zach Maslaney, Finishers Squad, 10th Planet Bethlehem. One of the greatest matches of all time, PJ Barch versus Pat Sabatini in the finals. So somewhere along in that tournament, so at the start of that tournament, before matches started, Mike Davila walked in and PJ was like, that's Marcelo's brown belt. That's Mike Davila. He's the guy that's supposed to win it. Mike was their first champion at Finishers 1, coming back to defend at Finishers 3. Maybe Finishers 2, I don't know. And I remember seeing Mike walk in, bro, and he had the Vale Tudo shorts on with the comic book rash guard. He had the points, bro. He had the points. He looked like a pit bull, and I was like, damn, that fucking guy's scary. That guy's really scary looking. And him and PJ had a great match. So my first time actually meeting Mike, I was coaching against Mike. And then a few years go by, and Tevin walks into the academy. He was actually referred by JT Torres. JT Torres sent him down because Tevin wanted to fight. And I I remember Tevin walked in, we started training. Tevin had some competitions and whatnot. And then, I was stepping up to compete, and Tevin was like, hey, I'll bring in my buddy Mike. And I was like, Mike who? He's like, Mike Davila. I was like, oh my God. Okay. Like, sounds good. And Mike came in to train, bro, and it was scraps, bro. It was fucking scraps. The leg and tang. I mean, I've never felt power like that in some positions ever in my life. So that was love at first sight. And I just kept, bringing Mike back. And I get it, it's hard to find good grapplers at that point in time, thinking back. I was about to say 5 years, but it's much longer than that, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So, Mike would come up to train because, he was going to get good rounds, and I knew I was getting great rounds. And I knew I wanted to open an academy. I saw my jiu-jitsu program growing. And I think just what I wanted out of a gym was different than what they wanted out of the gym, the owners of that academy. So I was looking for 1,000 square feet. I think I had like $20,000, bro. I was just going to try to open a gym with it, small. It would have been less than half the size of what we have now. And I was like, Mike, you want to open a gym? Like, you want to jump in? And he was like, no. He's like, no, it's just not the right time. He was working for Montefiore at the time. Mike doesn't like when I give away his information, so I'm not going to say any more than that about his personal life. I'll get yelled at. No, I'm just kidding. So I kept being like, oh, what's up? Like, you want to open an academy? Like, I was looking in Terrytown and Sleepy Hollow, Legends of Sleepy Hollow. I wanted this gym to be in Sleepy Hollow so bad. We ended up in Briar, which is a blessing. Where we are is 20 minutes from Westchester, anywhere in Westchester, 150 parking spaces right off the highway, easy to get to, easy to park, easy to train. And I got a text, and Mike was like, hey man, I might want to jump in on this academy. I'm interested. We met at Coffee Labs in Terrytown, and we started planning, and he wanted in, bro. That doubled the money, that doubled that doubled everything. The dream just got doubled. And we just put pen to paper and we started planning, and we would meet. I feel like every Wednesday, bro, we would meet. And I had already been looking for an academy or for a location for like 7 months and then Mike was like, hey, I want in. I was set. I was ready to go except for the place. And I was frustrated, man, about not being able to find the right spot with the right rents. What really killed Terrytown and Sleepy Hollow for me, or for us, I should say, is the parking and the traffic. There's one road in Broadway, and there's just no parking. And the town's kind of a pain in the ass, I heard, if you want to open a business there. Kind of a blessing in disguise that it took so long. And, I had a good realtor, bro, Anthony Tompkins from Higher Realty. We would go see places, and I'd be like, oh, kind of like, that honeymoon phase. Like, oh, this is it. And he'd be like, no, this isn't it, bro. You got to look at this. Make sure you drive. Like, what are your busy times? Like 4 o'clock. All right, drive through town at 4 o'clock and see. Oh, traffic everywhere, dude. Kids are getting out of school. People are getting off work. Not the place. And then Nick Price, one of our purple belts, blue belt at the time, was like, hey, have you thought about Briar? He's a security guard. So he has some time, and he was like, well, have you seen this place up in Briar? And I was like, my buddy Nobi just opened up what is he? He's a orthopedic? No. He does root canals. Dental surgery. Right. And he just opened up a place down the street. And he was also like, have you thought of Briarcliff? I was like, dude, nobody's going to drive to Syracuse. Like, nobody's going up to Briarcliff. I didn't realize Briarcliff was like right here. I didn't realize it was Terrytown, Sleepy Hollow, and then Briarcliff, which is all considered Sleepy Hollow country. And, me and Mike had been looking and walking, and it was hot and it was cold, and we went through all the seasons and all right, let's try Briarcliff. Let's just go look. Walked into this place, bro, and I saw the gym. Dude, I saw it. I saw this. Exactly what this is. We used to have a living room actually over there.
I remember.
So I kind of missed the living room. But dude, the couches got gross. So we have more seating. So we went with the uncomfortable seats, to kind of make it so like parents don't stick around. So that I can like train their kids without the extra bullshit. Some
I know.
Parents like to give. I'm getting off topic. So yeah, we both walked in, and we saw it. And there's so much that goes into it. We were new to business, so nobody wants to fuck with you, bro. Nobody wants to. I have to say something to my realtor. My realtor has to say it to their realtor. Their realtor has to say it to them.
Wow.
And there was a blueprint right over there there's a little table right by that pole with a blueprint for that bathroom. I guess that was built, and it had the landlord's phone number on it. I was like, I'm gonna call this fucking phone number. I'm gonna call this dude, because I didn't talk to the landlord at all. I was just realtor to realtor. So I saw the phone number and I called and I was like, hey, and like my voice was all shaky and he could hear it, because they were gonna not go with us. And I called Eric and I was like, look, man, like I need this. Like this is the place, bro. This is where Legends needs to be. This is the spot. It's perfect. I'm good at what I do. I know the business. I know the industry. I've got the money. And we ended up hashing it out. I think, and then the process gets even harder, bro. Cause now it's like, all right, I will consider you. Here's our lease. This is what we want. So now it's me to my lawyer, to my realtor, to their realtor, to their lawyer. And again, they were like, there's some things our lawyer didn't like in the lease. And we were just going back and forth, trying to hash out this lease, trying to make it perfect for us, you know, or as close to perfect for us as we can. And they want to make it as close to perfect as they can for them as well. But when I found that phone number, bro, and I called him, and we kind of realized, like, we're kind of on the same page here. Like, we're just both human beings trying to make it right for us and our families. We came to an agreement, and we have the best relationship with our landlord now. Don't worry, Eric, we're not leaving. Our leases were actually about to hit 5 years in November.
Wow.
And he'll see pictures. He's seen like our landlord's seen pictures of all the people in here. He's like, it's getting too filled. Are you guys thinking about leaving? I'm like, hell no, I'm not thinking about leaving, man. I'm not leaving until this place is bursting at the seams and I buy the building from you. Like, that's the goal, you know. Hopefully we get more space. I'll knock down a wall, but we're in no rush, man. Nobody likes an empty bar. So you can have 10,000 square feet with 50 people in it and it's going to feel empty.
Right.
So we have 3,000 square feet and, you know, 30 people show up, 35 people show up on a Monday and it's busy. So there was such a process with finding the place. But it never would have happened if Mike didn't jump on, man. Again, I would have had 1,000 square feet. I would have been doing it all by myself. There's pros and cons to partnership. What me and Mike do really well is disagree and then agree. We have an idea. I have an idea. And Mike will be like, slow down. Or Mike will have an idea and I'll be like, I don't really like that. And we'll find
that common ground.
We'll find that common ground.
Right.
And that common ground seems to be what most people like. So it's definitely been a good relationship. As far as partnership goes, yeah. It's like, it's yin and yang and it creates such a good balance. Cause I'm super bubbly, you know, I'm super fucking like all over the place at times. And Mike's a little bit colder, but very straight to the point.
Right.
Which is good. And we've kind of learned a lot from each other. It all started again with just Tevin walking in and wanting to train and introducing us. And yeah, a lot went into this place, bro. A lot. And then we opened, bro. We opened on February 11th. We did a soft opening. We didn't even do a grand opening. We just, February 15th we opened and we were like, hey, we'll do a grand opening in the spring of 2020. 5 weeks later, I'm told to shut my academy down.
Yeah.
Because of COVID. Are these in the questions? Was this part?
It was. I was going to ask you about the COVID times because of that.
And we're back.
As always.
So actually the real reason, you want to know the real reason I opened a gym?
Yeah.
I did not want to hear my wife yell at me anymore to open up an academy. Dude,
okay, so Coach Stephanie, he's basically saying it's Coach Stephanie.
So my wife just, dude, it was, and Eugene, bro. Yeah. Eugene was open a gym, like, what are you doing? Open a gym. And so I owe a lot to that. I don't think there'd be no Legends without my wife. So, I just couldn't hear it anymore. Just, open a gym. But to be honest, dude, at one point, like, my stomach was burning to open an academy. And it's just the right people, bro. Just the right people came along. Mike, Gene, obviously, Price, finding the place, the landlord being awesome. With the right coaches in the past, they give you like the confidence to do this shit.
Do shit like that.
So Legends was a culmination of that. It took a lot of time. It took easily over a year to open. I kind of wish there's some things I would have done different, I think. With my exit from the old academy, I think I would have included them a little bit more. Like, this is what I'm doing. I kind of waited until I signed the lease. And a lot of that was I didn't want to be convinced not to. I didn't want to be like, hey, well, we'll offer you this much money. Just stick around. Because it's never been about the money, But obviously, we live in Westchester, so it has to be
super expensive. Yeah, I think the second most expensive county in the entire state. The entire country.
Dude, in the entire country. So a lot of it was like, dude, I just can't hear my wife. Just keep telling me to open a gym. Like, I just got to do it. Let's do it. And that kind of snowballed into some of my friends opening academies too. But we don't have to get into that.
Which is, no, but that's fucking great, because what it proves is, like, you can see someone that you respect or admire do something, and you're like, what the fuck? What am I doing then? Why am I sitting here not doing that shit when I like that shit?
Yeah. Oh, they can do it. I can do it.
Right.
They can do it. Maybe I'll do it better.
I think that's a lead by example kind of thing. One thing that I did love about the website, anyone that goes to legendsfightclub.com, you'll see at the very bottom there's a quote, and it says, "Heroes get remembered, but legends never die." It's from Babe Ruth in the Sandlot.
Sandlot, dude.
Yeah, so I saw that one time, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's sick as fuck." What is it about the name Legends? Because the Legends martial arts, or at least Legends Jiu-Jitsu, was the one out in California. Eddie Bravo and Joe Rogan and that guy, that set of crazy fucking people.
Tour was with that back then.
Yeah, back in the day, and then we got here to Legends, and I thought maybe because of the Sleepy Hollow thing, I was like, maybe that's what it was.
A lot of it, dude. So some of it has to do with the Sleepy Hollow stuff. Legends of Sleepy Hollow, which is actually America's first ghost story,
folk story.
Started during the Revolutionary War. Hessian soldier lost his head and haunts the battlefield, taking the heads of colonial soldiers and local, people. This place goes off in Halloween when it comes to like the Headless Horseman stuff. So that had something to do with it. There's also live your legend, write your legend. But it also has to do with coming up in Dobbs Ferry. The word legend was used a lot. There is a friend of ours killed himself, and there's the Legends tournament. It's a softball tournament that's put on for him every year. And the word legends, I think they use that name because it's just a term we would throw around when we were kids. Oh man, he's a legend for this, or he's a legend for that. So a lot of it has to do with just the roots, bro. Just the roots of where I came from. There was a bunch of names in the pot at the time, and actually I was drinking a can of Coke and I said Legends on the side while I was like, man, that just brings back. It just feel that name feels like home. And Mike liked the name too, bro. So that it worked out. So yeah, it has a lot to do with there's a few meanings for it, but definitely has to do with my roots in Dobbs Ferry. It has to do with the area here in Sleepy Hollow country, and it has to do with people coming in here to write their own personal legend. And everyone has their story, everyone has their goals, and you're able to write your legend when you're in here.
That's another one. If you hang around Adam enough, sick becomes part of your vernacular.
Sick.
That's one of the things that I would say, fuck your coach being like, good job. Fuck that. I get sick.
Yeah, if you get a sick, bro, you did good.
You're doing great. All right. So let me ask you about Ring of Combat, Rise Invitational. Mm-hmm. You've worked with Lou Neglia. For those who don't know, Lou Neglia is a fucking legend in MMA here in the Northeast because he really does care about combat sports. Long Island, despite me hating the drive. Fucking hate the drive. I respect them. My cousin lives out there.
Any of you guys that do any promoters in Long Island, stop putting shows on Friday nights.
Please.
Put them on Saturdays. There's not as much traffic. I can leave in the middle of the day even. We can get there early. I don't care. I don't got to sit in traffic. But man, you guys making us leave on a Friday night. Be there by 6. Yeah, right. I'm not going to be there by 6. I'm going to be sitting in traffic at 6, texting you, telling you I'm going to be an hour late because we're sitting in traffic. Oh, leave earlier. It's traffic all the time.
Yeah, it's the worst of the worst. But getting the pleasure to work with such a legend, because he is a legend in combat sport. He's a guy that's beloved heavily here in the Northeast. We do love that he puts on Ring of Combat. Gives a lot of us fellow New Yorkers a place, and of course the guys in Jersey, a lot of fucking place to just compete.
Yeah, and they're one of the at one point, and maybe even, I don't know about, but more recently, they were the highest producer of fighters into the UFC of any promotion in the country. Yeah. Sarah's, Weidman's, all these phenomenal fighters.
Yeah, Bazooka most recently.
Oh, yeah, man. There's a bucket list of fighters that went through the Ring of Combat ranks and then came out into the bigger shows. It's a great platform for fighters. It is a place where you are going back to what I was saying about those commissions yelling at us, dude. I remember the first time competing for Lou with Rise or with Ring of Combat, and he starts by saying, first of all, I want to thank you guys for all the hard work you put into training. Pause. What? We're being thanked. We're not being yelled at. We're not being corralled. We're not being taught. We told we can't drink Gatorade, or we can't leave. We're locked in this locker room. We're being treated like actual professionals. That's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
That's why Risky loves to fight for Ring of Combat, bro.
Yeah, and to that point, Risky's first fight, starts winning that first round, second round kind of doesn't go his way.
Oh, it got handed to Baby Goose, bro. So he's out of Douglas Lima's.
Yeah, he's out of Douglas Lima's.
So they know that Risky likes to clinch, and they were working the short elbows off the clinch, and one of those short elbows just connected.
And that was it.
And that, that's all she wrote. But now it's just a new tool that Risky uses.
Yeah.
Now Risky's using short elbows off the clinch. He's also smarter about head positioning when he's exiting the clinch. It's all a learning experience. Sucks that we lost the fight. Sucks that we lost the fight that we should have won. But even then, bro, even off the loss, they just, Lou and the team just makes you feel like you're a world champion, bro.
Yeah.
So they're cool. They're cool to they're great to work with.
Yeah, I think that in the coming years, we're going to see a lot more fighters from, especially our team, come out of ring of combat and into the pros, and then from there, wherever they decide to go.
Yeah, bro, and there's no easy fights. There's no easy fights in there. If you want easy fights, you got to leave New York, you got to travel. And we're not looking for easy fights, man. We like the hard fights.
Yeah.
But going back to Lou, like Lou will call me, dude, and I get terrified. like Lou, even like talking to Lou, man, he's given us a lot of opportunities. Even on like Lou Negley is like combat at the space opportunities to fight at Madison Square Garden. It's I just get so nervous when I talk to him, and that says a lot, man. That says a lot.
Yeah.
Because he runs a good show, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're co-matchmaking for Rise now. What are you looking for the young athletes that are watching or listening? What are you looking at when you're looking at like the future guys to compete at Rise, or someone who's interested in this particular medium for jiu-jitsu, their platform, when they apply or when they're just thinking about it? Like, what do you suggest that they come with in order to really be matched up correctly, or just given the opportunity? Because that is one of the best platforms for jiu-jitsu.
If they're having fun and they're hard to beat, it's going to be an exciting match. That's what I'm looking for. This kid's hard to beat. He's not quitting in bad positions. He's working out of bad positions. He or she are tough to beat. But more importantly, they're out there having fun. And I've reffed a few of the Rise Invitationals, and just the newer up and comers, bro, the kids. It's crazy to see where jiu-jitsu's going. It's crazy to see orange belts, just like kid belts for jiu-jitsu, like orange belts looking like black belts.
Murking people.
Black belt techniques, dude.
Yeah.
That shit is crazy. So I'm excited to see the next generation. I don't want to speak for Rise, but unfortunately, New York has ruined jiu-jitsu in our state. They want money from it. The state wants the money. The state wants to treat the jiu-jitsu athletes as though they're boxers. So they want you to get the blood work. They want you to get the CAT scan. They want you to get the EKG. But more importantly, they want to charge you the jiu-jitsu events the same prices that they charge pro MMA and pro boxing fights. So I think a pro boxing fight costs $7,000 just to put on.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on any of this. This is just through the grapevine. And they want to do that for jiu-jitsu. So if it's a paid jiu-jitsu match, that they want the whole nine from that. And it's just bullshit, the way New York runs martial arts in general.
Yeah, I was going to say Nevada seems to have had a better system. A couple other states have kind of like learned to make the same amount of money as a boxing event.
Nope.
And it sucks
There's
because
no
in
money
America,
inside.
people bitch about it and go, "Oh,
that's all passion. Those guys fight for all the passion.
I want to watch guys fight and not hug each other." I'm like, so then why don't you go fucking watch Muay Thai?
Yeah,
kickboxing?
absolutely.
That is the sport to watch motherfuckers
Well, that's
hit
just
each
a
other.
fan base, bro. Like I'll see on like comments on social media, or, Reddit,
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, I can tell you're a casual."
I fucking hate
Like
casuals.
you'll make a comment, it's like, "Oh, you're a casual," and it's like define a casual. Like the guy's calling you a casual, like you've been training, like you're sweating and bleeding. Because to me, like a casual would be someone that just watches and doesn't actually train the shit. And just seeing, oh, you should have done this or you should have done that. It's like, motherfucker.
You have no idea.
Go get punched in your teeth.
Yeah.
Go get punched in your teeth. And then again, tell me what this fighter should have been doing. But I don't want to bitch or complain about fan base. But going back to New York.
Yes, New York is shitting on us.
There's really no like what jiu-jitsu. There's just like smoker style tournaments now.
Yeah, which I'm not against it because I do like that old school mentality.
Mhm.
Also, don't feel that safe.
I heard for bigger tournaments,
Mhm.
So for example, they're trying to charge like the invitationals, right? They're trying to get some money out of the invitationals. Now, if you have tournament styles like Nagas or good fights, I heard that they're trying to dip into those too. So to counter that, so anywhere that there's paid competition, but also people buying tickets to go see, that's where New York's cracking down. So, you have people paying to come see, that's what they're cracking down on. That's why they want a piece of the money. So I heard that these bigger tournaments, and when I say bigger tournaments, I mean more accessible tournaments for kids and adults. Blue belts can show up, white belts can show up. You don't have to be invited to it. I'm hearing that they're going to have to stop charging spectators. But I'm also seeing these guys do cash only for spectating, which means you could just take that cash and hide it under the table. And New York has no idea if they're charging people to come see it, to come watch these tournaments. So it's a shit show right now, bro.
Yeah, I was always wondering because I had seen in Florida that there was when I was living in Orlando, there was a competition. And I was like, okay, so how much are the tickets? And I was like, there's no price for tickets. You just show up. I was like, all right. And then one of my friends goes, yo, bring like $10 in cash. And I was like, why? And he goes, donations.
Donations, yeah.
I go, excuse me? He goes, yeah, you don't have to pay for the ticket.
But you get,
But it's a good idea for you to donate. And I was like, what's the donation for? Oh, well, for them to host more events in the future. Yeah. And they have the big donation box, and everyone puts in something. Even if it's $3, they'll take it. They'll be happy as fuck with that. So if we took $10 and we're just stuffing in there, and they put us like a nice VIP bracelet, we just sat up in the front. And I was like, man, I wish that they didn't have to come to that, but I guess that's why. They probably like, we're not paying this fucking commission to put on this event. We're already paying for the actual event.
Dude, it sucks. It sucks. Going back to year to New York, what promotion runs professional fights in New York? Name one, because there is only one.
The UFC.
Okay, there's only two. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about UFC. UFC has all the money in the world. They can pay.
Yeah, they can do that. Let's think. It's not a boxing, really.
There's only one.
Oh, boxing and WWE.
Flex. Where were we? We were talking about New York.
The
state of New York.
Fucking killing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it sucks, dude. Yeah, so, okay. So, what promotions put on pro MMA fights?
Right.
Other than the UFC?
Flex Fight Series.
Flex. Oh, Connecticut. You mentioned Connecticut just here in the intermission. They go to the Indian reservation, so they can do whatever they want. No government, no commission. They can do whatever the fuck they want. So yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks that New York wants to put their hand in everything. And it's why like Flex, for example, we always try to get our guys on because that's a platform for our amateurs to turn pro and fight on a pro show in New York in front of their friends and family and not have to travel to New Jersey, not have to travel to Connecticut or outside of the state. Flex, I want to say, I don't want to speak for them, but I'm pretty sure they don't make money on their pro fights. Because how could they? You know, just the cost of putting on the fight alone. At one point, I was hearing if you wanted to put on a pro fight, do a pro-am card, you would have to do the amateur card, and then the fans would have to leave the stadium or the venue. They would have to leave the venue and then come back into the venue, like New York was trying to make them do. So it's just a shit show. I remember when I moved back here, MMA just got legalized. And I was like, oh man, MMA is legal in New York. Like, this is going to be great. The Empire State. You're going to see MMA fights at Times Square, this and that. And then, you know, New York being New York.
They ruined that one. You know, that was something I was talking to a friend of mine about. I was like, you know, we have an MGM in Yonkers. Something I'd never seen. We have a lot of MMA fighters. You know, there are a lot of fighters in Westchester especially, but in Yonkers, we have a crazy amount right now where it's like the first time we have this kind of influx. Why the fuck don't we have a fight in MGM?
Nope.
Why isn't a guy from fucking Yonkers headlining the card so that we could, you know, make some money?
It's not profitable. They just ask for too much.
Yeah.
And in return, they get nothing. So New York's not making any money on MMA other than, I guess, the little guy gets pushed out. So going back to opening this place, I know I'm jumping around. We almost ended up in Dobbs Ferry. Legends almost ended up in Dobbs Ferry on Chauncey Square.
Yeah.
Where New York Sports Club is.
Yeah.
There's a Starbucks and there's a Chipotle.
Yeah, everything's there. It's great.
So they told us rent was X amount. And then they're like, they saw our business plan and they're like, oh, just kidding. Rent is X, this amount. And then you have to talk to a board of investors to move in there. And
I have no beef with it because I went to New York Sports Club in Dobbs because it's like maybe 8 minutes from my house.
So remember when I was saying I was working 5 a.m.? 5 a.m. I was going to work.
Right.
Going to class, going to train, going to my buddy's house, sleeping for 5 hours. I was actually managing the pool at New York Sports Club during that time. Opening it at 5:30. I was the janitor there for a little while, dude. I just did what it took, man.
I mean, that's what you do at that point in your life, though. And I mean, to be fair,
you're like 21, dude. Chicks don't like you. You know,
I mean,
like chicks your age don't want to date chicks that are their age. Everything sucks. Everybody fucking hates you because you're like in your 20s.
There's some truth to that. I mean, I can't speak to that, but I had my daughter at 21.
God bless.
I was doing stuff already.
God bless, bro.
But you know, that's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
Because once you start getting it regularly, then you start thinking with your dick. And that's where you get all types of trouble. I'm going to be 100%. If you're younger than me, you're in your like early 20s, don't think with your dick, bro. Trust me. Save yourself the fucking heartache. Save yourself the money. Save yourself the stroke you almost have.
Find an MMA gym and go train.
Fuck yeah. Go put your money into the gym. Spend your time with people that fuck with you, that are cool. Yeah. You'll find the right person. They'll come around. But don't do that because I was getting laid all the time and doing not a fucking thing. Like, I promise you, if I could go back, I'd smack the shit out of myself for that.
Yeah.
But then, you know, we get to this preface of like, you saw the vision of Legend before it was really like in place, before these walls were created, before the fucking Legends logo is here, fucking over there. We see all the merch. Where do you see this gym, or where do you want it to become over the next coming years?
You know, this whole room was blue.
Get the fuck out of here.
This whole room used to be blue.
No.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, before we paint. You know how hard it was to paint over blue?
Blue? Yeah, that's a lot.
You know how hard it was to cover up blue, like blue with white? You know how many coats of paint, dude?
That's a lot of primer.
Get rid of that blue. When we moved in here, there were metal sheets on the wall.
I remember that.
CrossFit.
I saw that.
It was a CrossFit. And I was like, oh man, the walls are perfect. So we pulled those sheets off the wall, and there's just holes in every wall. Not only did it take a year to find, it took 6 months to build. What do I see? I'd like to expand this academy. I'd like to knock down a wall at an extra 1,000 square feet. Yeah, so expand the mat space would be nice. I would like eventually to have a headquarters here in Westchester with Legends, but to have a much bigger facility. I'll shoot high and say I would like a 10,000 square foot facility here in Westchester. But first, I want some satellite gyms. I would like to see maybe something on the other side of Westchester. I'd like to get an academy in New Connecticut. I'd like to get an academy in New Jersey. Right now, we have the manpower. You know, I have a great staff, and we have a lot of very talented black belts that want to do this.
Yeah,
you know,
we've got quite a few actually.
The problem is you start pulling stuff out of here, it changes the atmosphere. And we're just kind of waiting for the right time. So we're hitting 5 years. In 5 years since we signed the lease, come November, February, 5 years since we opened. So that's a conversation that we'll save for them.
Yeah, until that time. But I mean, again, the fact that you still, again, have that vision that like, hey, you know, these are the kind of the ideas we want to have. This is the direction we're moving towards. You know, to be honest, when I first came, you were like, this is the address, man. Get over here. Let's go train. I showed up and I'm like, this is fucking nice up here, man. It's like in the middle of Bumblefuck. No one's going to fuck with you. You get to train and we get to be us. Cause if you've ever come to a gym, we are a wily bunch of people and we're all fucking crazy, but it's great. Like it's beautiful. They're nice people here, but we're all little, and that's good. I like the 6s and 7s. That's just my shit. But I was always like, man, I have this strange feeling that the businesses next door, I don't have nothing against them, but I feel like those are eventually this is going to knock down this wall. And we're at that next space over here, and then the space after that. And then the biggest space is actually at the end.
I have a whole master domino plan.
I'm telling you, and that's what I was thinking when I saw it. I was like, yo, you know what this would be really good for? If we just, and we just expand it outward, and, you know, have some fight team space, have some training space, have a little bit of this, have a little bit of that. And I saw it from like when I got here. I was like, I'm pretty sure either Adam or Mike have thought about that shit already.
Absolutely. It takes time and it takes patience. Anyone getting into business, time and patience. But what we won't do, so say too much.
No, we gotta.
I'm not gonna knock down a wall to kick somebody out, right? Because that's their livelihood, and that's just bad juju. Just going in there, like telling my landlord, "Hey, I want this space." Like when their lease is up, I'll take it. Like no, like if they want to continue or extend their lease, I'm not gonna go in there and take it. We just went through that actually. We had an opportunity to take a space, but just it just comes down to timing.
Right.
Again, I'm happy with what we have right now. 3,000 square feet, showers, seating area, plenty of mat space. No, I'm happy. And you start expanding, you start getting more problems.
Yeah.
So I'm in no rush. I think the next big play might be to open another academy.
Maybe.
Legends somewhere within the hour, maybe to the north. We'll see.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe into a state that's to the north of us, maybe one that's to the south of us. But there's a lot of options, man. It's a little premature to have this conversation.
I'm gonna leave that at that then. All right. So that aside from just Legends Martial Arts, husband, father, and you're doing the best fucking job ever because you get to raise your kids. I always see you post your kids, and it's the fucking greatest thing ever for me. I'm a little jealous. But I do respect it because I'm like, fuck, like that's awesome. Those are the memories that they're gonna remember forever. You're gonna take those pictures and be like, you know what you did here? Yeah. You have any idea what you did here? And it's going to be that thing that, like, they're going to go, fuck, my dad was awesome. And
I hope so.
I think so. Like, looking at it now, I'm like, shit, I want to be his son. Fuck out of here.
We do have fun, bro. I get to play with monster trucks and look for bugs every day.
I was saying,
I get to, Legends lets me raise my kids. I shouldn't even say Legends. Back when I was a blue belt, bro, getting smashed, I never thought like getting smashed was going to pay off. Some people see being rich as a bank account full of money. I see it as the time that I have to raise my kids, to live my life. I wake up at 9 with the kids, make some breakfast. I come in at like 3 or 4 o'clock, teach a couple classes and then train. I think that
was always how my dad was a business owner, but he was in a different business, man. He would leave early, come home late, but he was happy. You know, he got to do what he loved or enjoyed doing. I think going back to being told by BJ or in the black belt, that was important. Because I don't know what I'd be doing, man. I'm not really good at much other than this. That's why that pirate flag is there, bro. The 9 to 5 stuff just doesn't fly. And I hope you guys, bro, I mean it. I hope you guys find a way to break away from that. But I also recognize how fragile it is for me. How fragile it is. Like, this could just disappear. You know, COVID already showed that. So I don't know. If, like, let's say like this place were to fail.
No.
I guess we got to go back in the cage and start beating people up. There's a big world out there, bro. If Legends were to fail, on to the next. You know, we're not in a, you know, it's almost now, it's like it's a ball and chain. Like, fuck, dude. Like, now I'm stuck here. Like, oh no, I'm stuck in Westchester. Like, it's doing so good. I can't really like leave it. But I'm also finding we're developing some good students that will become good teachers. And I think I'm just going to start heading north. I'd like to end up either in New Hampshire or Rhode Island.
Wow.
Oh yeah. But I think the next stop is Connecticut as far as like living or buying a house.
Yeah.
Buying a home, you know, for the family. Getting out of Westchester is a big goal of ours right now. I think, so my wife manages greenhouses at Hardscrabble Farms. I think we're the only two crazy people in Westchester that both commute north, and pay Westchester taxes.
Yeah.
So I think going north is the play. I also don't agree with how things were handled in this county when COVID was at its highest point. And I understand both sides to everything. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. There's a big world out there.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. My wife and I were talking about it, and I don't live like in a bad neighborhood, but I live in Yonkers, and there's a huge city, and there's 200,000 people there. Yeah. So they don't miss you when you go, but our rent was like raised.
Oh, dude, crazy, bro.
$100 a month.
Well, the whole city's moving up. Westchester's becoming a new borough.
Yeah, it's becoming like Manhattan,
New York City. Yeah. It's moving up the line. So I don't like the rat race, bro.
No.
Pumpkins. I'll see rotten pumpkins in April on people's front porches because all they do is get into their car and drive to the train station and commute to the city and work and get back on the train and get in their car and drive into their garage and go to their bed and just rinse and repeat. And that's no life to live.
No, that's miserable. And I've done it before myself, so I know that it's fucking worse. And it's,
bro.
People think that it's like, oh, but that's life. No, it's not. You shouldn't. That's not what it is to be alive. That's just survival.
Yeah.
And that's fucking insane. My last question for you before we wrap up. What do you want ultimately to be your legacy in life?
Oh, man. Wow. Health and happiness, bro. I mentioned earlier, as far as legacy goes, bro, I don't care. It's being a good father, like straight up. Just being the best father imaginable. You know, being there for my kids, raising my kids. How I feel, you know, in the best way possible. It's not about me anymore. I actually got a fortune cookie that it's in the office. I hang it up, and it says, "You'll be surprised how much you can get done, or how much success you'll see when you stop taking credit for everything, and allowing others to shine." So it's no longer about me, bro. When I was fighting, when I was competing, it was. You know, I was building my resume at the time. Right now, I just want to see the boys do well. I want to see the boys open academies. I mean that. I want to see the boys earn the black belts, and I want to see the boys break away from the 9 to 5. And if I can help do that, it's mission success, mission complete. I want to see, you know, jiu-jitsu allows you to do that, man. Going against the grain. We're raised, we were brought up in school, bro, to leave the house at this time and work for X amount of time and come home and do homework and all that crap, dude. And then what? Retire when you're
65.
65 and maybe live to 75, 80?
Yeah, that sounded like my father used to hustle, so I could say it. It sounds like a hustle. It sounds like you're trying to pick me out.
Yeah,
I don't fuck with that.
No, man. And it's, dude, and we're trapped to do it, bro. We're trapped to work, but it's the money and shit. Find what you're good at. Find a way to make money from it. Find a way to make a living from it. Find what you're passionate about. Yo, just go all in and fail, bro. Fucking fail, man. That's what people are scared to do. They're scared to fail. But the only way to be successful is through failure. You know, every successful person I've ever spoken to has failed and failed and failed and just kept coming back and just kept showing up. And they knew what they wanted and they made it happen. You just, you know, all these stories about success, you never really hear the failure parts.
Right.
But they're in there. And if you can just accept the failure, you'll find the success.
I think that's the most important thing, is to be okay with failing. We're in a society that tells you not to do something. Don't fail. Don't fuck up. Don't do this at work. You know, don't make these people mad. It's almost like
Dude, I can't.
we're
I
yeah.
did that. I did the corporate thing. I think the influence in Hawaii, like surf's up, shut down the town. You know, you're off work today. Like we're gonna go surf. It was important, bro. I think living in that culture, you know, where rusty roofs and broken down cars and shit, but you're happy, bro.
Yeah.
You're happy. I think people lose sight of that and they just start chasing the money.
Yeah, but that doesn't bring anybody happiness that I know of.
Nah, man, like you have to be comfortable. Like I get that. It's really easy for me to sit here now and like say this, but man, it was hard to break away from it. It's really hard to break away from it. And I still don't really like fully believe that I've broken away from it. Like it's still crazy to me. I think I was working 7 days a week. I was working 6 days a week. And I think I want to say a year ago, I started taking off Tuesdays, which was like my second day a week off. And like having 2 days a week off is fucking nuts, dude. And it's just, I found a way. I found a way. So did my best friends, bro. But it was all through jujitsu. And it was all through consistency. And it was all from being told by some world champion to earn your black belt.
Two division world champion. All right, ladies and germs, we have reached the end of the episode. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thanks,
Adam Collarile came through,
Thanks,
gave
man.
us a lot of.
Overdue on my part.
I think it's overdue on my part. I should have asked you earlier, but I was always nervous. I'm always nervous to ask, to be honest.
Bro. Like I said, I want to see the boys' success.
I know.
All of you, bro. I mean it. That'll be happy.
Yeah, I think this is the thing that is going to help me pull away from the rat race, because the conversation adds value to people's lives.
I agree.
And people don't tend to understand that. I think they have it in their mind that, you know, conversation is just like, it's a pastime, and it's not. It can really do something to somebody, especially when you're in that dark place. Hearing some of my favorite fighters say things about like, oh my God, I was so fucking depressed, but I came here and I gave you all I had. That always made me feel like, okay, so it's not just me, you know, I'm not alone in this. And I think that that's a really good one. So again, I want to thank you for your time, Coach.
You're welcome.
I want to thank everybody who's watching and who's listening, whichever medium you decide to choose. Ultimately, just keep in mind that, you know, what is it? Bad times never last, but bad guys do.
That's right.
So be a bad guy.
Be a bad guy and show up and train.
Show up and fucking train.
Listen to your coaches. Stop walking into gyms and thinking, oh, 3 months later, I'm going to get a fight. Show up, head down, put in the work, and you will be successful.
Yep. And get your ass kicked a lot. You will learn so much from your ass getting kicked like that, because I have taken so many beatings and I've enjoyed it. And then I've come back for more.
That's right.
That's how you do it. Legends Martial Arts, Briar, New York. If you haven't been and you're in the area, you want to come train, you want to be in a gym in an environment that you feel will allow you to become your fullest self, if you will, this is the place to be. This is the gym where you ask my wife where home away from home is, and she'll tell you it's Legends. This is what this is for me, and that's what it's become over the last 4.5, 5 years now that I've known you. I have 6 years, actually.
Longer than that.
Yeah, 6 years now. Holy shit. When I started talking to my wife, initially we were first dating.
Yep.
So now 7 years.
Well,
Yeah, Sam and I had been together 4 months before I came and met you. So that's almost 7 years now.
yeah.
Holy shit, I'm getting old.
It was quick, bro.
We're
was
right
quick.
quick. So again, thank you again, Coach.
You're welcome.
Got so many more fights coming up. RFC Promotions, Flex Fight Series, Ring of Combat, Rise Invitational, hopefully. We have so many more events coming over. A lot of more fights to go.
A lot of the boys are in Connecticut competing right now.
Yeah.
Good fight.
Yeah, we're ready for it. Good Fight Foundation as well. Another one that's been really good to us as well. They've seemed to give us a little bit of love here and there. Grappling Industries, smaller events that maybe you guys don't know yet. Rolling Stoners, Chronic Combat. So we've been blessed to have such a system. And again, thank you again, Coach. You know, your time in Hawaii, all that shit that you gave us, all those fucking stories were fucking awesome. To hear about, you know, legendary training camp, especially with a guy like BJ Penn, who, you know, was the reason why I started trying to fight. You know, I thought he was Dominican when I first saw him. Because, you know, he had the hair back then.
I know.
I was like, yo, this little Dominican dude whooped somebody.
He had the little goatee.
The little goatee and then the hair. He looked Dominican or Puerto Rican. I was like, I think that's one of us. And then I saw the flag and I was like, nope, he's Hawaiian. But again, we're here at Legend Martial Arts. Thank you for your curiosity. Thank you for your time. And, you know, I hope that whatever you decide to do in your life, make sure that you make it count.
Hit it hard.
Hit it fucking hard and make sure that you make your own legacy. Peace.